Just so
Welcome, everybody, to the December 2023 meeting of Community Board One's Land Use Zoning and Economic Development Committee. I'm Patrick Cannell. I'm chair of the committee, along with my co-chair who's online, Laura Starr. I also have Tammy Meltzer, who is chair of CD1, and to my left, Honorable Chris Forte, District 1. If anybody is in the room and has the Zoom or the WebEx on, you got to shut it off or we're going to get this feedback all night. It's going to irritate everybody. All right. We have 3 items on the agenda, and I know you guys are here for predominantly for one of them. The first being the pre-application statement to the Department of City Planning regarding the Independence Plaza area. This is a non-ULURP modification, and we're going to hear first a presentation from Stellar Management. Adam Roman will kick us off. Then we're going to have an opportunity from their presentation. Council member. When the council member's done, we're going to have committee questions, and we'll see if there's the ability to accommodate public questions and comments. There may not be, because there are so many of you, and we do have a full agenda tonight. I just want to be as transparent as possible about that at the outset. We do have other items on the agenda, but I anticipate we will be holding a public hearing if time permits, and you'll also have the opportunity to comment at the full board meeting of Community Board One, which is December
21st.
20th.
It is
Wednesday,
Wednesday, the 20th this month.
So with that, let's go. Mr. Roman for Stellar Management.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the members of the board, council member, and members of the community for taking the time to be here tonight, both in person and online. My name is Adam Roman. I'm with Stellar Management, and we're excited to start to present this opportunity at Independence Plaza regarding a development at Independence Plaza. Today, we will be talking about a zoning overview. You can go to the next slide. Our agenda includes a zoning overview, a massing strategy, talking about site improvements, and then opening up, as the board chair said, for questions and answers. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague Fred and Morgan, and we'll get started on the zoning overview.
Fred Harris. I'm a partner with Tornado Realty, which is a partner with Stellar in owning Independence Plaza.
Please.
Next slide, please. Next one. So Independence Plaza, as most of you know, is a piece of the former Washington Market urban renewal area. It is an area of Manhattan that was settled quite early. Originally, it was residential. In the late 18th century, late 19th century and early 20th century, it was a busy market and warehouse area. In the 1970s, there was an enormous program of investment in Lower Manhattan that included the World Trade Center, Battery Park City, and Independence Plaza. Independence Plaza was built in the early 1970s and was meant to bring high-density residential development to the other projects in Lower Manhattan, which were mostly commercial, but also had a mix of residential development. The Washington Urban Renewal Plan expired in 2002. Next, please. Just before the Independence Plaza site plan was approved, the area that Independence Plaza is part of was rezoned C64, and it remains C64 zoning to this day. Independence Plaza has 2 large development parcels, 3C, the southern parcel, which is what we're here to talk about, and 3A, the northern parcel. The northern parcel was fully developed to its zoning maximum. The southern parcel, 3C, was not developed to the full amount that was permitted under the C64 zone. Next, please. Under the zoning that exists today on the south parcel, There's a 97,000 foot parcel. It has a floor area ratio of 10, which translates into a permitted development of 974,810 square feet. It is also an area where a voluntary inclusionary housing bonus is available, which adds another 2 FAR. At the time the site was originally developed and the site plan was promulgated, some of the floor area permitted on the southern parcel was transferred to the northern parcel so that the actual amount that would be permitted today with the 2 FAR inclusionary bonus is actually a zoning density of 11.4, which comes out to 1,110,943 square feet. Today, there are 544,617 square feet of development on the site. Under our proposal, about 86,000 square feet of that would be removed. And then we would propose to build an additional 652,000 square feet. And when you add that together, that would fully build out the site. Next slide. I'm turning this over to my colleague, Morgan Mann.
All right, as was mentioned a couple of times, the project site is in a large-scale residential development, an LSRD, which a modification of this is required because we are modifying the site plan. So the LSRDs include restrictions on where the location and site where the zoning is going to be used. But does not require a modification of the existing zoning. So as Fred said, the zoning will be remaining the same. There are, within the current LSRD, there are waivers that were already in place, including against the sky exposure plane and the rear yard, and those variances would remain in place following any modification of the site plan.
Could you speak up? Some people are having trouble hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know my voice can be hard to hear sometimes. We're saying basically that we are not requesting any changes to the underlying zoning or the height restrictions on the site. So we are looking at a site modification to the existing LSRD. Next slide. Sure, just to outline the non-ULURP modification process. We have already filed the PAS, as was mentioned, in June of this year. And we also attended the interdivisional meeting. Throughout the next few months, we will be having another community input meeting where we will be hearing from all people who would like to comment and opine on pieces that should be studied during the CEQA and EIS process. So those inputs into the EIS, the environmental impact study, will then be following the normal process of the scoping meeting. And after that, before the draft EIS is finalized, we will be having a secondary community input meeting. So as you can see, there'll be a lot of times for us to meet with everyone and talk through the different concerns that the community might have. Following that, there will be the public hearing from CB1 that will finalize the EIS parameters, and then the FEIS will be completed, and then the DCP vote we anticipate to be about a year out. So I think next slide, please. Just to dive in a little bit deeper, the EIS process will be followed for this project. We will be looking into several different things, such as land use, zoning, public policy, open spaces, shadows, and cultural resources. The list is quite long, but all the ways in which this project will have an impact on the environment will be studied during that process, and there will be formal public comment periods to address concerns. Next slide. Turn it over to Benji from Stellar to go through the massing.
Hey, I'm Benji Rubenstein. I'm with the development team at Stellar, and I want to thank everyone for attending and CB1 for hosting us here. I'm going to be going over the question of how do we fit all of that floor area onto the site? So massing is really just the rough shape of the building and how that complies with the underlying zone. So what we're going to show you is our intended zoning. Next slide will unveil it here. The proposed buildings are in yellow here. There's two smaller base buildings, one large tower. The existing buildings are in this red brick color. And then we're looking towards the Hudson River, towards some of the other taller buildings in the Washington urban renewal area, Better, Park City, and Lower Manhattan. We are working with Morris Ajmi Architects. He is very familiar with Tribeca, having done some buildings just up the street. To name a few, 408 Greenwich, which is about here, the Sterling Mason building over here, 83 Walker, and so forth. The design strategy is really twofold. It's to enhance the ground plane and the pedestrian experience while also enhancing the skyline of Lower Manhattan with all this height. Now, the taller tower, the taller tower.
Okay. Stop.
It's tall.
Let them finish.
No hiding that. The reason it's taller, and the architects feel that a smaller floor plate, which means a taller building, provides more benefits at the ground level, from more open space to casting a thinner shadow, to keeping the distance between buildings greater. We want to note that in no scenario will the new building be closer than 60 feet to any existing buildings. As we have it proposed here, it won't be closer than 100 feet, which is, so just for reference, a typical street is 60 feet, Duane Street, J Street, so forth. 100 feet is the width of Greenwich Street. That's what we're trying to maintain here with this proposal. And that's the typical width of, say, any avenue in Manhattan, just for reference. So on the next slide, we'll kind of go over some of our strategies at the ground level. Again, with Morris and his really, we think, a great ability to understand Tribeca, we want to have these lower buildings reflect the character and architecture of the Tribeca Historic District across the street. We push the tower off of the street, set it back, really more than it needs to be, not just to get the bulk off the street, but to also re-engage the historic street grid. And then at the ground level, we're working with Signe Nielsen, who is a local and well-known landscape architect who frankly did the current sidewalk as is, to reimagine the space for more retail. And we'll see some images of this later in the slides, as well as move, what we think is another big move is to move any vehicular traffic that is traversing Greenwich Street around over to Harrison. Again, really thinking about pedestrians first here in this design scheme. The next slide. And again, as mentioned before, trying to then infill the density that is kind of missing on this site and connect to the taller, bigger buildings of Lower Manhattan and the other buildings that you can see are labeled within this within this former Washington Street urban renewal area. And for your reference, the darker the color means the more fully built it is. And our site, of course, is a lighter color here, and we're trying to then have it meet its potential of the rest of the sites here. So with that, I'm going to now pass this back off, I believe, to
What
Brett.
is your site on that picture, the 2 and the 3?
Justine, we got to hold off questions till the end, okay?
We'll give you some side scripts. Thank you.
Next slide, please. So one of the reasons that we think the project should be supported is that it will produce a lot of new housing. The city, as all of you know, is desperately short of housing. It will produce some affordable housing, will definitely produce the affordable housing required under the inclusionary program. And the development team hopes that before the project moves any closer to completion, that there will be a replacement for the expired tax incentive program, which will enable or incentivize developers to include greater amounts of affordable housing in their developments. Next slide. Tribeca and Lower Manhattan have produced relatively little affordable housing in the last, actually, this goes to 2021, but it hasn't changed much till now in the last, so it's really the last 7 years or 9 years. Tribeca in that period has produced, has hosted 22 new affordable apartments, and all of Lower Manhattan together has had 336 new affordable apartments. This compares to the city as a whole, which in that same period has produced 67,255 new affordable homes. Next, please. Under the inclusionary housing bonus, we would be required to preserve almost 100,000 square feet of affordable housing, to preserve that permanently, or to build 56,000 square feet of new affordable housing. If 421A or a similar program was in place, there might be 150,000 to 200,000 square feet of new affordable housing. Next, please. This is.
That's it.
Thank you. This is Karen Hernandez.
So, hi, everyone. I see a couple of friendly faces, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Karen Hernandez. I am on the communications and outreach side at Stellar Management. So let's dive in. In addition to providing affordable housing, we're looking to greatly improve the existing streetscape on Greenwich Street. As you can see, the sidewalks look a little bland and dated. There's an active garage there that pedestrians have to cross on a daily basis. You look at the stairs feel rather large and unwelcoming, some might even say off-putting. And overall, the street wall just looks like it doesn't match the neighborhood and any of the buildings around there surrounding it. So what we're trying to do, next slide, please, is that we're really trying to enhance and revamp what Greenwich Street is and the experience of Greenwich Street so that it can put you, the people in the community first. I know that, and I know everybody's smiling like that, but we're really trying. We're really trying to get it. So the way that we've been thinking about this is that we have a couple of ways. We want to maintain the greenery that I know many of you folks love and care for already, but we also want to incorporate new, diverse, and vibrant greenery to that space. We have been working with Signe Nielsen, who is the principal on the Streetscape project. And for those who don't know who she is, she's lived across IP for a number of years and knows the community and knows exactly what the streetscape needs. In addition to that, we are going to maintain the wide pedestrian sidewalks that are in place. We're just looking to make them a little bit more livelier and create new design elements to it. And lastly, we are going to relocate the parking garage entrance so that pedestrians don't have to cross in front of it every single day. So where? Well, you can ask.
You have to,
Next slide, please. So the really nice thing about this, in addition to, all that other stuff with the streetscape improvements, is that we're trying to create a new retail corridor. And we're looking to just put in new retail frontage. We are very committed to working with you, the community, if it hasn't been clear, and we want to make it very clear that we want your input. And we've had some conversations with existing residents already. I have, and some of the things that have been mentioned to me are things such as a food market. I know that's a big one. Other things that have been brought up to me are childcare facilities, coffee shops, casual dinings, and pet stores. It's still very early on in the process, but again, I just want to let everyone know that we want to communicate with the community and the residents to just really understand what's best going to benefit the community. And with that said, I will pass it back to Adam.
So again, we appreciate the time for the board members, for the community. In summary, we are looking forward to starting this dialogue. As was mentioned here, it's going to be a long process. There's going to be at least 18 months of subsequent meetings, a lot of feedback. But we really are excited about the project, the opportunity to provide housing, including affordable housing, improving the streetscapes, revitalizing the retail, and reconnecting with Tribeca and Lower Manhattan. So with that, we'll turn it over to the board members for any questions and follow your lead.
All right, thanks, Adam. So just quickly before I ask the council member to take control, for the committee members particularly, it's important to note that we're not on the clock. As Mr. Roman and Ms. Mann said, there's about another 18 months or so of time before we'll be officially on the clock to make a resolution on the application. Doesn't mean we can't make a resolution in the meantime, like we've done in other projects, things that we want to see, particularly in other LSRD applications. So keep that in mind. And just sort of level setting the timeframe here. So with that, asked Councilmember Marte, if you'd like to have a few words.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for everyone who showed up today. This is an amazing show. There's 125 people online. So it really shows that people who live in IPN and the surrounding neighborhood really care about this proposal and this potential development. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Many of you, some of you, this might be your first community board meeting. I want to let you know that this community board is one of the best that New York City has to offer. You're in good hands. They know many issues, especially around land use in Lower Manhattan. So if you have a question, they probably already thought about it. But if you have a question that's not asked today, feel free to reach out to my office. We will ask it individually. I don't want to take a lot of time because I want to give the floor to the community board members because this is their arena. But I have a few questions about this development. Right now, I'm against this development for the record. But I guess my first question is a question of commitment. When you conduct the environmental impact statement, what we traditionally see in these statements is that a developer will fill out a response saying there will be no displacement, so we didn't have to conduct a study, or there wouldn't be any shadow impact, so we don't have to conduct a study. Can we get a commitment from you today that you're going to go thoroughly through all the topics that you had listed on that slide, whether it's displacement, whether it's environmental studies, shadowing and how it affects the quality of life, the pollution study, the traffic study of this community at the EIS?
Absolutely.
Okay. I know in one of the renderings, you didn't show it today, but when we had the presentation with our office, you said that you're going to make improvements to the lobby of the other buildings as part of this plan. Why not make those improvements without this project?
So we actually have already started doing so, to your point. As was discussed here, this project has, there's a lot to happen before now and the project starting and coming to fruition. But to your point, council member, we have already started. We've already been working with the residents on that, specifically as it relates to updating the corridors, renovating the lobby. We recently, over the last couple of years, replaced all the elevators in the building. Since our ownership at Independence Plaza over the last 15 or so years, ownership has invested tens of millions of dollars of improvements throughout the building. So we are fully committed to those improvements and the existing residents with or without this. However, this opportunity and this development does allow us to do even more as part of a broader redevelopment.
Okay. Have you notified every commercial tenant, residential tenant about the potential plans of the development within IPN?
There's over 1,300 units at Independence Plaza. I cannot speak to having notified all 1,300 residents. As we mentioned here, it's interesting because the whole public review process is a little bit of a chicken and egg, because you have to have, what we would love is to be able to have a conversation with all the stakeholders all at once at the same time and be able to have everybody be the first person we speak to. But unfortunately, it's just kind of not the reality of how the process works. So there was some work that was done with the Department of City Planning to get to this point today, to be able to present information that has been vetted through their experts on what's possible, what's not possible, and things along those lines. And then, as we mentioned before in the slide, council member, for everybody else here, there is at least an 18-month process that's going to be happening. So there has been a fair amount of work to get to the point where we can present some accurate information with good detail, but there's still a lot to be done. And so today's process is part of that. Those steps are making sure every resident is informed, all the commercial tenants are informed, and we're getting feedback from that. In fact, Karen Hernandez, who spoke today, her role is specifically on the team is facilitating that communication. We believe in transparency. We believe in communication. We will not make everybody happy. 100%. We will not make everybody happy. However, we will endeavor to get all the input we can and to try to incorporate as much feedback as possible. We truly care about the residents and the communities we're a part of, and we are looking for win-win scenarios. But unfortunately, there will be, no matter what, some people who just don't care for it. For example, I love tall buildings. To me, tall buildings is Manhattan. That's New York City. That's part of what I, as a little kid, always thought was awesome. I can totally understand why some people don't like tall buildings. When Independence Plaza was originally built, if you look at those old pictures, those 39-story towers were gargantuan at the time. And if that wasn't done at the time, those homes for all those residents and generations of families that have lived in Independence Plaza wouldn't have been possible if at that point, those tall buildings that stood out in that skyline weren't allowed. So, it's a process we understand, but definitely we look forward to incorporating as much input as possible.
And my last question, you talked about affordability. There's a good chance that 421A doesn't get passed by the time you start this process. That will limit the amount of affordable housing you can actually build. And this mandatory program is actually voluntary. So there's very little, if you choose not to build as big as you propose, or probably no new affordable housing could be built, depending on the size of the development you choose to go forward with. Is there a commitment you're going to make publicly, a number, a percentage-wise, off the bat?
So the answer is that with the inclusionary housing, right, we will have those amounts of housing that Fred described. Our goal is to build as much affordable housing as possible. However, we do need some version of the 421A or a replica of that. And once we have a sense of what that is, then we'll be able to speak to the details, and we will be happy to provide a commitment once we know the playing field. Right now, we don't know the playing field. We don't know the rules of the game as it relates to that. So that's unfortunately kind of a reality of being on our side of the table.
Thanks,
But I do want to reiterate that affordable housing and building as much affordable housing as possible is a top priority of the project.
Is keeping an open mind to the community's concern, the council member's point about that whether it's the minimum as a square footage per expression or as a percentage, you'll keep an open mind about that.
We would hope to exceed whatever the minimum ends up being. Most developers in today's world, that's where things are shaking out. And we understand that. Every project is unique. Every project has bespoke characteristics. And we will endeavor within this project's characteristics to be able to build as much as possible and hopefully exceed whatever that minimum is.
The senior center is extremely vital to these buildings and to the community.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen to the senior center during construction potentially or afterwards?
Nothing. If anything, we would look to improve it. But the senior center will remain open.
During construction?
Yes.
Thanks, Councilmember. All right, we're gonna go with committee member questions. And why don't we just see how it goes? Maybe we'll go around this way.
Just so the public knows, we do the committee, meaning the community board committee first. We have a robust online group who also have hands up. So once we get to the public, we'll be going both online and in person. So just be patient. When you are called on, we will ask you to stand because the mics and the camera need to find you and clearly announce your name and comments. If you feel that someone has said what you have already liked to have been said, please just say either I agree with so-and-so and sit back down so you're on the record. You do not need, for the sake of everyone in the room tonight, to go through a full set of repetition, because we will have time to put all this, as he said, in a resolution in the process. Got it? Everybody? Good?
And so LZ committee members, I urge you to please keep questions brief and really to the extent necessary, because we do have a big number of the public who wants to ask. But that's not directed at you.
Okay, thanks, very much for the presentation.
Thank you for the time.
A little bit of this before. On the point that the council member is driving home here about, and our chair, the need for affordability, we don't need housing in Quebec, we need affordable housing in Lower Manhattan. So I know at an earlier meeting, you had spoken about the number of units, and I think it was somewhere between 700 and 900 units, you said, and that there was a possibility that this would be under MIH 10%. So that would be 90 units of housing. And if you got lucky with 421A passing, which is somewhat utopian, but let's say, then you're talking about 25%. This is what was told to us in the early meeting. I'm just making this for the public record, that this is something that we would hope you would do much better on than 90 units in a 900 unit building. I wanted to ask a question specifically about the demolition. And I wouldn't mind if you could put up a slide that shows the three-dimensional axonometric sketch that we have.
The one with the two.
The one that shows the tower in its spot. To speak about the 86,000 square feet that's being demolished, just to identify what that is and how that affects the townhouses, and that portion of the
Sure.
project.
So Benji can speak a little bit more in detail, but this location here, kind of broadly speaking, includes where it does include some of the townhouses. So the existing buildings have 3 towers, and then along Greenwich Street, and then also on the backside, they have some low rises that are sort of referred to as the townhouses. So some of those are being removed. And then we've been working with the residents in those instances to relocate them at comparable or better housing within the complex.
How many townhouses? I think you really need to have a demolition plan if you're talking about in your calculations, 86,000 square feet going down. Let's see what it is in some diagram. I think that's essential. And where are these people going and how is this going to happen? I mean, the obvious question is this is tremendously impactful on people's lives, of course. So I don't know if you want to answer to that now, but
I
I
think,
just ask for that, the next iteration allows for that.
sure, we can provide that. And to your point is, yes, 100% you would need demo plans that are reviewed by DOB. But in terms of getting to that, but I hear what you're saying. In terms of getting to that calculation, we didn't make it up. The answer is there's about 50 townhouse units that would be impacted by that.
Okay, and then lastly, just, it's a relationship here between building probably a very tall tower and this I understand your point about liking tall towers, and I'm an architect, I like certain ones too. But, you are taking light away from the neighborhood and from the city. You are taking some amount of air, you are taking certainly shadow impacts and stuff. And so these are some negatives that we need to know as a community and as a city. What are we getting in exchange? And so when I see something like street wall continuity, improved outdoor space, I get the street wall continuity, I think that could be a strength. But the improved outdoor space, I'm seeing basically sort of a kind of washed out, red area. What is it exactly you're giving back to the community? And I know you could argue your building is, but let's just talk about that improved outdoor space. So you really want to let us know what's the give back. Okay, that's it. That's that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And just to your point, as part of that, one of the things that along those lines that we're working with the residents is to create working groups and subcommittees specifically to be able to get into the weeds on what are some of the inputs of the existing residents on how to utilize that newly created and improved outdoor space. To your point, to be able to, provide, flesh that out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alice, always to the heart of it. Yeah, well, if we're going around?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Go ahead.
okay. So you're gonna hear a lot of things from a lot of people, for sure. One issue that's gonna continue to come up is affordable housing. There's no doubt about that. You claim to be trying to maximize, making an impact on affordable housing. And I will say, and I think many will say 10% is a joke, really. It doesn't even, it's a drop in the bucket. But I have a specific question. You mentioned that the affordable housing that you wanted to create, or that you were focusing on, was preserved affordable housing. Could you explain what that means in versus the new housing that could be an option if you actually get a 421A pass?
Sure. Can you go back to that slide, sir, please? There was a slide that had talked about.
There's a slide that showed the
Fred,
two
maybe
options.
you can take that?
Yeah,
Which way?
keep going back.
Back, right.
That one.
Oh, it's detailed at our calculation slide 6.
Go forward one.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can't.
Back it up.
Going there, am I?
Yeah.
Going past the stack.
That's it.
4 more slides.
Yeah, next, okay, there. So that's simply an explanation of the existing voluntary inclusionary program, which allows for 3.5 additional square feet for every square foot of brand new permanently affordable housing, and allows for 2 additional square feet for each square foot of permanently preserved affordable housing. So that's, it's really just to illustrate the math of that legal provision. And so clearly, if you permanently preserve affordable housing, there is more preserved to generate the same amount of additional floor area.
Well,
If you build new, it's a little less.
this is a new building. What is it that you're preserving?
In the inclusionary housing, we could have permanently preserved housing elsewhere in Independence Plaza or anywhere within the legally permitted area. It does not have to be in the same building.
So you may not be actually creating any affordable housing in Tribeca.
Under the
Correct.
under the
Right.
voluntary
That's correct.
inclusionary program, that is a correct statement.
Thank you.
But-
Okay.
But don't tout yourselves as creating affordable housing.
Yeah.
You're not.
Well,
But-
the housing has to be in the community. That doesn't mean that it can be anywhere.
But you do have a voluntary option to permanently preserve and add.
Yeah.
If
Yes,
If the altruistic part adds for permanent, not 421A housing, we have already seen the deleterious effects of 421A. No offense intended to the
Oh, yeah.
developers in the room, but 421A sucks for a permanent, long-term housing
Yeah.
and stability in a community because it wears off. It's
Yeah.
nothing more than a Band-Aid. So the question that I'm asking you is, when you come back and talk to us again, you consider beyond permanently preserving whatever you have existing, but instead of that being an or, finding a way to do and, to build in the community. You're building 900 units.
well,
I don't ask for an answer now.
but we definitely will answer that question.
So I have some specific questions as well. You mentioned that that an existing sky exposure variance was going to be maintained, I think. What does that mean? Could you explain that? And could you also explain what variances you were eliminating?
Sure, I can jump into that.
Hey, Jim,
Let's see, we can go to the right slide, but I think it's.
Do you explain which one is the right slide?
Yeah, I know, keep going back.
Also
Up,
towards the
up, up.
beginning.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. We have a site plan right on. Keep going back.
There.
Oh, sorry. Actually, maybe we don't have that in.
there, that's the closest we have.
Yeah, so, the LSRD had some waivers to existing zoning that were built into it. So the tower that is on Greenwich Street in 3C actually already, is within the sky exposure plan. So it's built a little bit too close to Greenwich Street. So that waiver would stay in place because we are not modifying that existing, am I saying that wrong?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh. I was like, I'm pretty sure I got that one. And so that would be a waiver that remains in place. Another waiver is against the,
So what does that mean exactly? That means there's greater shadow can be felt or experienced on the Greenwich side because of that waiver?
it means that let me think about that in regards to shadows. So that tower, the existing tower that is already built, the shadow that is cast by that building would remain the same as it is today. So that waiver would stay in place as it is currently in the LSRD, the underlying governing
Because the building's there.
the building's there, so we wouldn't be modifying that in any way. The rear yard, so, the back side of what we consider the backside, but I suppose just the west side of 3C. A rear yard requirement is typically 30 feet. In the LSRD, there was an allowance to be able to have that just be 15 feet in some locations. And because of some of the demolition that would be happening in order to accommodate the new development, we would actually be reducing the amount of, let's call it like interference into that, whereby the 30-foot rear yard requirement could actually be maintained. So pardon me, it would be improving upon something that was previously given a waiver. I think those are the main ones.
And then there were, some distance between buildings.
Oh, right. So then the distance between the building waivers, I don't know if you've walked up on the open plaza as it is today, there's what was the old school building, is built too close to surrounding buildings, but that was allowed under the existing LSRD. We would actually be setting the new tower further away from other buildings in order to be more respectful to the requirements for building distance in between the new tower.
Right,
and
that's
existing.
So last, comment, if you will, you're applying for this under a minor modification, which, at least I'm happy to see that you made a commitment to do a complete and thorough environmental impact statement where many of these issues are gonna come up, and I think we're gonna see serious problems with this building as a result of it. Why? We would certainly want you to apply under a major modification. If you really want to take the community input into account seriously, that would be the way to do that.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, right now, we understand the history with Two Bridges in particular and some other sites. You know, city planning, has reviewed that and they consider it a non-ULURP, application. The difference really is the council members, vote. And, but with regards to, as we showed in our previous slide, we're gonna have 18 months of public hearings, additional hearings at the community board, additional public hearings as part of that EIS, which follows the strict requirements of the seeker. And so we will be incorporating, or we will be, obtaining and having an opportunity for all that review, all that analysis and all that feedback. Really, the difference is the council members vote, between the
Now represents the community.
Understood.
Right. Susan?
Two things. How many townhouses are there in total?
In the area that, where the.
Just in total. You're gonna take away 50, but what are you taking 50 away from?
There's over 1,300 units in at Independence Plaza. And with regards.
That's not what I'm asking.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm checking to see if
I know,
some.
we were trying to see if we have it. We can get back to you.
We can get back. I don't
I
have that.
think that's important for us to know. That's number one. And I thought that those were owned. They are rental. Somehow when it was created, there was some ownership involved in that.
So that is, so I can speak to that. Did you live in those historic homes?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are, see this little spot right here? So-
Yes, I know.
So that is, those are privately owned historic homes. And, that is not part of what is owned here by ownership. All the rest of the complex is all rentals, not owned.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And the other thing is when you talk X% or whatever, I think it's very important to talk about the numbers, how many units you're having. I think that's critical. We need to know the number. So when you figure out the 10 or 20 or 30%, there's something in everybody's head. And can you keep, when you talk about affordability, can the housing that's in the towers that currently exist, where some people have affordable, they've been approved to have affordable housing and have all these other things, can you make that part of your proposal to ensure that those people are able to continue living and not have increases?
Sure. So the existing buildings, and the existing, non-market rate tenants on the three
Yeah.
existing towers in the townhomes all have, they either have Section 8 vouchers or landlord assistance program that provides those rent assistance and rent, protections. And then, you know, I appreciate the point with regards to units, and to be able to like frame in terms of number of units versus square feet. We really haven't done, detailed levels of like unit mixes and floor plan layouts, but certainly we can provide ranges to be, at least be able to quantify that. Yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate that feedback.
Thank you.
Are you open to any other subsidy type apartments there?
In what,
In terms of,
like, for
people that-
example, like what sort of subsidy apartments?
well, in terms of what's already there, if they're, if, the types of subsidies that people have already.
Oh, so for example, on the existing towers and the existing residents, some of the feedback we've gotten was some of the seniors interested in SPRE. And so one of the things that I know the residents are looking into, and we've offered our support, is to be able to help facilitate that in any way possible. So we're open to that.
All right, Nikki, your turn.
Fine. I know that you're just starting, to make that clear, right? So what I want to do is speak about, maybe one or two things to help you guide your future decisions, because we see this kind of overreaching, developments and programs, you know, over and over down here. A lot of it is for self-interest, not the community. You could present to us verbally whatever you want, but we've seen it, and we've seen the beginning, the middle, and the end. Please don't say that the city is short on affordable housing. I mean, we are so short on housing, just as human beings, that the last thing we need is another 90-story tower of market rate. So if you are going to even try to get this through us, and if our word matters here, Chris, you will give us something back, something enormous in terms of transportation of renovation. Give us a new subway stop, give us a new school, give us a new hospital. Do not give us more retail. Retail only sucks the life and the money out of the community. You need to come back and give us something really big so that we know that you're honest about, you know, contributing to the community. Keep that in mind as you're going along. And yes, we want to know, because we're pretty good down here, right? We are a diverse bunch, and we need to know exactly how many units. Do not try to interpret affordable for us, because a lot of us here are in the industry. So please be clear, save us a lot of heartache listening for the next year and a half for nothing. Thank you.
Just a few questions about the existing development. My understanding there was originally, it was 9 towers that were to be developed on the 2 properties. Is that correct?
That's not my understanding, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So based off of what was presented, it looks like the existing towers are 356 feet tall. You're presenting a new 940-foot tall tower. There's additional property behind this 940-foot tower. What is expected with that property? Will that continue to be open space? Is it
Within
going to be an additional tower?
Within the land, within
Correct.
the, no, so it would be those three structures, the 2 low rises and then the tower.
And how are you getting to this 940 feet for this tower if the others are 356, excuse me?
Yeah, as we mentioned, part of the thought process with going with the taller tower is by creating that mass on a smaller footprint, it allows for more open space on the site. And working with our design team, the thought process is that you've got the low-rise towers along Greenwich Street, and then you've got the taller building on a smaller footprint, which will then allow for a smaller footprint that creates more open space on the site. But yeah, as Benji said, it is a tall tower, and we understand that.
So it's entirely possible you could have the same number of units, but say in two towers that would be the same size as the existing towers?
I don't know is the answer to that question. I don't know the answer to that question. Because, when there was a discussion about, separation of, between the towers. So there are still sort of rules within that large scale plan that you need to work within. So, that's why I say I don't know.
I see. All right, thank you.
Okay, defer back to the council member. He's got another question.
This goes back to my earlier question about outreach. Have you reached out to the privately owned townhouses? Because what we've seen in the city is that a construction of the size, this is like constructing 2 blocks within a block.
Yeah.
Puts those buildings in seriously compromising position. And those buildings are historic buildings, as I'm aware, and they add tremendous to the historic character of Tribeca. So what has been your outreach thus far? There's only a few houses. And what will you do to make sure that those buildings remain standing throughout this construction and after?
Yeah, just from a safety perspective, you know, there are all sorts of requirements that are required by everything from FDNY to DOB, all the agencies that review these plans. You know, working with reputable licensed engineering firms, architectural firms, contractors, all the sorts. So, you know, similar to, for example, you know, the large construction projects that are done anywhere in Manhattan, all those would have to be top of mind. With regards to the first part of your question, with regards to the outreach for those individuals, we have not had that. Again, I go back to my question earlier, which is that we'd love to be able to talk to everybody all at once at the same time. Unfortunately, just that's not possible, so we haven't gotten there yet.
I'm gonna go to Tricia Joyce online. Tricia, if you're able to unmute, ask your question.
Yes, hello, thank you, Patrick. I want to, several things have been addressed that I was going to say, but Vicki Cameron, I cannot support what she said enough. And building off of that, you know, I hear a lot of talk in your presentation about what's allowable on this space. As you walk across this space and you look at this neighborhood, to compare this building with the tall building south of us is disingenuous and irrelevant. And what I'll say is, when you look at Sun, you look at the amount of children here, and you look at the buildings around this, to even be considering 900 feet, whether or not you're allowed to, and whatever, is, you know, something that I can't believe it's gotten to that place. I have to say, is that development is not something we're against down here. There is logical development that can be done in Lower Manhattan. Some of it's been done really, really well. And this community board has been 100% behind it. But to come to us with something of this scale, after walking these streets, I still can't quite believe it. It is completely out of context for this part of the neighborhood. There are so many places in this city to build something of this size. This is not it. And whether or not you're allowed to should not be part of our discussions anymore. I'm so tired personally of hearing about developers saying we're entitled to do this and that. Do you want to feel good about this development? I sense that you have a lot of passion in your involvement in it, and you've thought through what possible things you can give to the community. But I found your presentation to be disingenuous because you have to understand something about this neighborhood and this community board. We are incredibly experienced at presentations like this, sussing things out, and we have in fact seen how they work out. So what I'm just going to say at the beginning of this process is I hope you go back to your next internal meeting and really have a moment with yourselves, because this is not the right development in this place. Period, end of story. We do need affordable housing. We do not need one more minute of luxury housing down here. So maybe you could go back with that, sit down and think about it, and come back to us with something more logical that we can get behind, because you know what? You're going to want us to get behind it. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Tricia. 15.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. So thanks for the presentation and thank you for everybody for speaking because my comment here is really again on affordability because we learned something through advocacy for 5 World Trade Center. And that was that the taller the building is, the more expensive it is to build and maintain. So jumping on what Trisha just said and what Gerald just said, having a really tall tower almost requires you to have more luxury units or market rate units to pay for it. Make them shorter, make them lower, and put more affordable housing in there and make the affordable housing permanent. What is destroying the character and the fabric of the middle class in lower Manhattan right now is 421A that has expired. I do not look forward to 421A coming back. I do not think that there's any sense in having it come back because it is short-lived and it is temporary. So when you go back to your drawing board, number one, think about what you can do to build truly affordable housing to the tune of 30, 40, 50% in the space. Still make a profit. Of course, you have to make money, but you want to keep the affordable housing that's there and you want to build more in the new building. No new building should be built without affordable housing. So think about that. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thanks, Justine, and thanks to the community board members for your thoughtful and succinct questions and points. That's a great way to work through one of these presentations. We're going to now open it up for members of the public. I already see hands up in the room, but because we have 3 hands up online, I'm going to go to those folks first, and then okay, and then we'll come back around. Okay.
In order, we'll do Cal, Corey. You're gonna see a request to unmute come your way. After Cal will be Cheryl Fish and then the Gilroy family, and then Lauren Bodish Parkin.
So we do ask folks to be mindful of time and as brief as possible in your comments. At our full board meeting, we usually have a 2-minute timer for folks to have public comments and questions, but we're going to see how it goes here.
Okay, Cal has left, so we'll go to the Cheryl Fish is next. Cheryl, would you like to unmute yourself? Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, Cheryl.
So I'm a long-term resident of IPM and a professor at BMCC, and I find this development awful, unfathomable, unlivable. I have lived in the neighborhood for 30 years, raised my child here, and I just feel this is excessive, unnecessary. There's been mold on the carpets on my floor in the building. There's been no shopping, no supermarket except for Whole Foods. I feel like Stellar Management has not taken good care of us, has not shown any concern for the neighborhood. And so to put in a gigantic building that'll cause disruptions, construction noises, and other worsening the quality of life for us on top of we're getting all the resiliency building going on. I just feel it's a totally unnecessary development, and I think we should fight it and do everything we can to stop it. It's not really supporting this neighborhood, which is getting harder and harder for the middle class to live in. It's not supportive of the diversity of the neighborhood, and it's just going to be disruptive to the college, to the community, to the schools. We need more services in the neighborhood. We need more stores that are affordable, and that's not what this is. So I want to do whatever I can to fight this development.
All right, thank you, Cheryl. Gilroy family,
Your mic is open.
Hello, can you hear me?
Ken.
We
Yes, sir.
can.
Yes, they can. They can.
Oh, all right. Yeah, well, I kind of agree with the last person that spoke. I also think about living on an active construction site for a couple of years and listen to the sound pollution. And that building isn't needed here. We're doing just fine. Actually, not that fine. Stellar Management hasn't provided any social service for us. We had a supermarket in the building, and they didn't renew their lease. They've really never done anything for us. They operate this building like a hotel, practically. People come and go. There's a very little sense of community. There used to be people that moved in here, raised their children, and that none of that is happening. And having this, it's an obscene thing to have an 80-story building, this big monolith go up in the middle of our lives. And this construction will take years, going down and then coming up. And it'll be right in front of us. And also most of the people that are talking and that are here have lived through 9/11 and suffered health issues from it. And I'm sure this will not fare well for us, living with just in a dust cloud. You know, it's a mess. A construction site is a mess. And it's every morning waking up with that sound, and it's just disruptive. And there's a sound pollution, there's light pollution, and it's just, I don't know why. You know, I don't, other than for you to make a lot of money and give us nothing. And I'm not I wish you were better landlords, to tell you the truth.
Thank you very much. We're gonna work on some people in the room next.
Yeah.
Before we go back online, so
So,
John Scott.
John?
Hello, everybody. My name is John Scott, and for education purposes, I am the president of the Senior Center Advisory Board. I've been a past member of the community board. I was the first chair of the youth committee. I've been a fighter for this community. And what I want to say is that the seniors created this Tribeca. We put it on the map. What the landlords won't say is that they couldn't rent these buildings. So what they had to do is go to the federal government, and the federal government had to give them a 236, which is paying for the mortgage bonds. And so they couldn't even house the original building. And now the federal government gave them money, the state gave money, the city gave them money, and what they're doing, people, make no mistakes about it. The seniors that created this community are going to be destroyed. I heard this nice young man say, listen, we're going to keep the senior center open. Let me tell you, we are on the first floor. We are 300 feet from where this pounding will take place. Let me tell you, we cannot have a center with this noise, with this piling, and it'll have to be more piling and more piling. So make no mistake, we can't have a center where we are needed. The center, this is going to hurt their health. They need to have socialization. They need these programs, and your building is going to kill seniors. So let me tell you one thing. What I'm asking the community today, the 100 out there, listen, what our fight is today is, they call this a minor development. We have to fight, it comes under a major development. And I ask my fellow community board members, you write the strongest proposal and resolution that says this must come under a major development.
And in the current thing, I live in one of the townhouses that's in the middle of this construction project, that the little townhouses that are privately owned and historic. First of all, it's totally disingenuous to talk about the outdoor space, that Stellar does not take care of their existing outdoor space. The only thing I've seen them do is cut down all the trees on their side of Old Washington Street.
Yep.
and never replace them. Do not care about green space, which they actually have ample of that they don't take care of now. But also, our houses are wood frame brick houses built in the late 1820s. They will not survive. I mean, there's no way you could put pilings in for a building this tall. And I also don't think that when you're talking about not being that close to any existing structure, I don't think you're referring to our buildings, because the landmarked courtyard that we share with Tornado is part of your development that you want to build 8 stories on. I don't even know if you can, because it's supposed to be a landmarked courtyard, but like that isn't 100 feet from our houses. Like, and like that's I don't think it's 60 feet from our houses. So I guess you're just not thinking about our houses as houses. But we don't like that. Not only are there's like a structural integrity problem that I don't think you can solve, but this is a flood zone. Having this huge building, we were hit really hard during Sandy and Irene and also other storms. I don't know how that's possible with like that many, much more like units and everything. And it also seems like a safety issue, but also it's a high wind zone. It can be dangerously high wind. Building the building seems like really crazy right there. Considering like just trying to get into my house sometimes, like my kids, like I have to like, they're blowing away. I mean, it's very windy now. So there's also the environmental concerns here. It just seems like a weird place to even think about a building this tall. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna go to 2 more in the room, and then I have 3 online. I have one question before, if you don't mind. That lovely drawing that's up there, the max base height of 85 feet or 9 stories that you're talking about, the new building that you're looking to build, is that 85 feet above the ground level, or is that 85 feet above the elevated courtyard? So is the total height of the building actually what?
Hi, Jim Power from Kramer 11, we're land use council on the project. 85 feet from curb level is the maximum base height for the building at the setback.
Street wall.
And so it will be, and with mechanicals, how tall would the building be?
Do you mean the front portion there that is?
The total height of the new tower.
940.
40 feet.
Some story.
All right.
Is that with the 15?
Gentleman in the back.
I echo my friend's concern about safety. March 7th, 2022, there was, it's a very windy neighborhood. Some furniture blew off of, I guess, one of the buildings on Market Street in Independence Plaza, smashed into our window on the 7th floor. Glass flew all over the apartment. Fortunately, my children were in bed, so they weren't injured. My wife was sitting in the kitchen, and there was just glass over all over the place. And the furniture then ended up on the street. She did call the police. There's a police report on this. I guess I'm just very concerned. There's children always on the street. It's a very windy neighborhood. I'm concerned that if there's a big construction site, what is going to happen to the people in the street? So that's my only concern. My question is, there's also a parking issue in the neighborhood. What is going to happen to the parking garage both during the construction, during the demolition, during the construction, and then after the construction? The one that you say is ugly. Or it's functional.
Yeah. Thank you.
Parking garage?
Sure, I can speak to the parking. During construction, some parking spots would be out of commission as we were building the new development. As currently proposed, all of the parking spots that are today will be replaced.
How many?
There's 232 parking spots on the south block, and it would just be consolidated into one entrance on Harrison Street. So again, not having to go across Greenwich Street. Right now, there's 2 garages.
Okay, so are you adding parking? Parking garage on Greenwich Street.
What?
You're eliminating the
Yes.
entrance to the parking garage
That's
on
correct.
Greenwich Street.
And all the kids that commute to their schools along Greenwich Street into that garage have to find another way to get into the garage. Like it is a residential neighborhood that uses that garage really functionally. It's not just for pedestrians getting like caught in car traffic as it was described to us. It's a functional neighborhood garage where there's people going to work, mothers taking their kids to sports, bringing their kids to school. Go in there at 7 a.m. and you'll see how many children are in there. So you're asking like a whole neighborhood that's feeding in on a certain route to have to go even further around with their children.
And can you clarify when you come back, how many spaces will be lost during construction?
Yeah.
And where will those cars go? And where will the entrance, so you're saying you're gonna close the Greenwich Street entrance at that point and only utilize Harrison?
That's right. For the vehicular.
And would you be expanding the entranceway on Harrison or leaving it as it currently exists?
We don't have that level.
That would be a good thing to understand, specifically because Harrison is also a cobblestone street.
We can provide more details on the parking.
Because it wasn't designed to be the sole entrance for that garage.
Hi, I'm Melissa Kraus. I live at 310 Greenwich. I lived there for 30 years. I have three things that I'm going to try and say quickly. First of all, I'm really impressed by the members of this committee, and I really appreciate the questions you're asking.
Yeah.
I just been to a meeting like this before, but I will be back, and I thank you. Second of all, I really doubt that you can trust the construction capacity of these proposed builders. If you were to come into our buildings, you'd see we have regurgitating tubs, walls that are falling over, all kinds of things that are going on. Basic reconstruction that they do of the apartments leads to, we hear our neighbors when we didn't used to, but their construction capacity is really in question, just as a basic question. And finally, Stellar Management eliminated 1,300 affordable units in 2004. Are they prepared to give back 1,300 affordable units? That's it.
Gentlemen, that's the price. Everybody, my name is Tom Furrier, 17 J Street. I developed the building 30 years ago. I built the building at 5 Harrison Street 25 years ago. First new residential condominium building to be constructed in Tribeca. I know how developers think. And I have one particular question I wanted to, I have many, but I will only ask one. You made a point about reducing the rear yard setback. It's 15 feet now, and you made a point about, oh, we're making it 30, so we're setting back our building from what you consider to be the rear yard on the west side of the property. Why did you do that? Is it because you're doing something for the neighborhood good by increasing your rear yard requirement, or was it because by doing so you could increase the height of the building? That's my question.
Sure, it was part of the design and massing strategy working with the architects.
And the massing strategy is established because you're a publicly owned corporation trying to maximize the value for your shareholders, is it not?
Stellar Management is privately held.
And Vornado
Is
is
public.
publicly held. And it's a $1.5 billion company.
But they need to.
I yield
And then
the
we're gonna go online.
Two quick comments. One, I live in one of the small houses and there's a cobblestone street next to it that was.
Speak a little up.
I live in one of the small houses on the
Can you
corner.
do me a favor, identify your
On the
name?
corner of the cobblestone street that used to be Washington Street. It was a posted fire lane. That sign was stolen. Stellar Management lets their employees park there. It's a parking lot. It was one of the prettiest places in Tribeca. It was on a postcard. It was right up there with Washington Square Park. It had an alley of trees on both sides. Children played in the snow. It was quiet. They played after school. They were safe. There were no cars there. Then they cut down all these 50-year-old honey locusts without telling anybody, without asking. It's arbicide. I think that's against the law in my book anyway. They don't care about the community. They don't care about children. They don't care about trees. So, you're disingenuous. I'm sorry. And also, I'm wondering what's going to happen in that street. Is that going to be like where cabs drop off people who go up to their fancy apartments? What is going to happen to that cobblestone street?
Let's get an answer to that, but if you'll just let us know your name for the record.
Elsie Armstrong, I'm an artist.
Thanks.
And I've been there for almost 30 years.
Could you?
That street will remain maintained.
What is that?
It's not maintained now.
It will remain as a street. It's not being built on.
It's not being touched.
That I don't know. I mean, sorry, you can appreciate where I'm going here, right? I mean, will it be touched? Of course, it'll be touched, but it will remain, I believe that's actually a fire easement.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah. So the easement will be maintained and the ship will stay open.
Will it be a staging ground? Will it be staging for construction?
It very well may. It very well may, to the extent it's allowed to be, to the extent that you.
Well, how can it be if it's a fire?
Okay, hold on.
To the extent there is just the way there are street closures that get approved by the Department of Transportation, those same streets that fire trucks go down, there's a process for applying to the Department of Transportation if you need to do anything like that. So in accordance with all the rules for FDNY and Department of Buildings, if it needs to be temporarily shut down or used for staging, that will be part of the process that gets reviewed and approved by the city agencies that do that.
Okay, we're gonna turn back to the online questions. We have 5 hands up there, and I saw some other hands up in the room. And we are gonna start instituting a 2-minute timer after I ask Diane Lapson to go, because we do have other items on our agenda, including 2 really big applications.
Diane, you can unmute yourself.
Hi there. I'm sorry I'm not there. I have a family emergency that I'm dealing with at the moment. I did put notes in before the meeting with a lot of my concerns, which I have mentioned to management already. But a few of them that I want to mention is my big concern is putting that weight on land that is so close to landfill. We're not even sure where the landfill starts or stops. But we do know that BMCC is part of landfill, which is right next door. And I've also been told by the mayor's office while I was fighting for the cobblestone streets that the stones are popping up or sinking down, the mayor's office during de Blasio's term said there were sinkholes all over Harrison and Greenwich Street, which seems even more frightening to put that kind of weight on that property. We even have trees that were so sunk down that the city had to come and do something about it the word was sinkholes. So I know that this is all going to be studied and all these environmental studies, et cetera. However, I personally do not trust the city, I'm sorry to say, when it comes to that. Sometimes buildings get through even with questions. And as far as 9/11, which is one of my biggest, most important thoughts about this community, because I feel we are a special community, which needs special consideration from what we lived through, the post-traumatic stress disorder of having a gigantic statue in the sky saying, "Here, hit me, please. I'm taller than everybody else." And also, as somebody else said, the health conditions that many of our tenants have, which go from COPD to cancer to esophageal reflux, all these things that would be exacerbated by dust and other toxins that will be flying through the air. And finally, because you could read all of the things that I wrote already, as far as the garage, which is the most minor thing in my mind, but the garage is going to return all the original spaces, but all of those new people in the building, many of them are going to want garage space too. So I'm not sure if the original people who have the garage space will be vacated or told the price has just gone up $300-400 a month. So the new people will be able to take advantage of it. And please read the rest of my concerns that I already put in writing. I hope it's part of the meeting here. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Thanks, Diane. Okay, we're gonna go to Lauren. Hello, Ariane. Just can't see the entirety of your name.
Hi. Hear me? I'm Lauren Chadish Harkin.
I've been a tenant at IPN for 45 years. I'm a lap tenant. And it's important for it to be investigated, I guess, how the present administration, how IPN Stellar Management treats its long-term existing rent-protected tenants. There's a lot's been said about how they're going to provide or maintain affordable housing. I have to say that the way they've been maintaining the affordable housing is abominable. We are treated like less than second-class citizens, and they have done everything they possibly can to try to force us out. Nothing is repaired. We have to live with 50-year-old flooring, in dangerous circumstances. When we need something fixed, we wait forever and ever and ever for it to be fixed. They really want us out. So for them to say that they're going to provide or maintain affordable housing is a joke. And I feel that there has to be a very organized study done about how we are treated before they can claim that they're going to provide or maintain affordable housing. Provide and maintain the affordable housing that exists now. 45 years. It wasn't called Tribeca. John Scott spoke about it earlier. They have some nerve saying that this is one of the goals. That's all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Lauren.
I'm gonna sound harsh when I say this. Let's not clap behind everyone because we have 3 other topics to get to. And I apologize where we're going. We still have many people who want to speak, but if you are going to say something that has already been said, I think you can just say, I agree with so-and-so, and we can move on. Okay?
And another meeting or two, maybe. Right?
We have several more. Yeah.
So there'll be plenty of opportunity for everybody to.
Lori Powers.
Lori Powers, followed by Renee, followed by Harriet Brim.
Hi, this is actually Mia Powers, Lori Powers' daughter, but I wanted to speak from the perspective of someone who was born and raised in these buildings. My mom's been here for 48 years and I'm 26 now. I've never lived anywhere else. And I would like to provide you all with the perspective that this is home to a lot of people and it's the only home that I've ever known. And to you, this is a project and it's greed, quite frankly. And I could absolutely affirm everything that has been said here. I won't repeat it to be respectful of time, but this used to be a very tight community. There used to be stores downstairs that are vacant now. As Lauren and many others said, the quality of life in the existing affordable apartments is laughable. And as someone who would hope for affordable housing in this neighborhood, this actually would only exacerbate the existing problem in this community that's caused it to become so expensive. And it places people like me who were born in this community, perhaps not within the means of people who have come into this community and can afford the community as it's evolved. It places me so far outside of the realm of continuing to live in this community or raise my own family one day in this community, which really ruins the sense of community. I use the word community, speaking to the relationships that were had in this community, those who built it, the stores. It's just like not even recognizable anymore because of developments like this. I mean, I can't, like, I'm not saying this even as a joke, like, I can't get a slice of pizza anymore, can't afford to get my nails done. It's because of the types of shops that have to come in here, because it's so expensive. It's because they're vacant. It's because of this issue that you're presenting us really with today. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's another thing. Wait, sorry, I'm so sorry. But the other thing is the amount of people that have to live in one apartment, like the new people that come here, kids my age, this building's become a dorm. It's treated as such because I think they come from them, and it's obviously not the luxury facilities that are being advertised. It's pretty atrocious.
Thank you, Lori.
Lori Queen.
Uh,
Renee, Renee, then Harriet Grimm, please. Renee, going once.
Renee is there.
Points. The first is school overcrowding. That's all I'll say on that. But that was an issue 10, 15 years ago, PS 234. I can't imagine that's going to be helped by this large building. Second, and this is a request, the mock-up drawings that provide the aerial view of the footprint of the proposed buildings is interesting, but I think would be more interesting is to see a mock-up of a drawing which provides the view from and the perspective from Independence Plaza Apartments currently facing east and north, so that we can really understand what it looks like, what it will look like to look out your window at an 80-story building. The third point, and I would really appreciate it if the developers and seller management could provide that sort of visual for us. Because when they talk about setting we've set the building back to provide more open space, you're setting it back closer to the current homes and apartments. So light, air, forget about it. The last point I want to make is a person asked before if when they talk about affordable housing, if they would promise to maintain and protect the current affordable lap tenant housing that currently exists in Independence Plaza, and that what we're talking about is adding to that. I didn't hear a clear answer to that question, so I just think we need, when they're talking about providing affordable housing units, that they're not folding in current units in IPN. That's it. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Harriet?
Hi, thank you. My name is Harriet Grimm. I'm a 29-year resident of Independence Plaza. I've lived at both 40 Harrison Street and also at 310 Greenwich Street. I want to applaud and reinforce everything that my fellow tenants have said today. I am in complete agreement with them. Our community has been through a lot. The promise of a small number or unclear number of affordable housing units is cold comfort to us, having lost so many affordable units in 2004 when Stellar Management assumed leadership of ownership of the building, and we left the Mitchell-Lama program. Today, the building owner and management team has churned through new leases and pushed families with young kids out of the building after 18 months. I've seen this several times played out on the floor that I live in. They have warehouse retail space and has given the neighborhood a completely bleak appearance. We've gone through 2 supermarkets just in the last decade. And I think we should not enable Vornado and Stellar to build a tower in the plaza. This is, after all, Independence Plaza. Another tower would obliterate the scheme of the towers back in the 70s, towers in the garden. Without that, we would have a grievous loss of the plaza. And we would lose both the healthful, beautiful fresh air, light, and views that we have that makes living in such density in a tower such as this both livable. And I believe that having a tower placed up against the north and east side of the building will make it very hot. And I think we need to have some evaluation of exactly what those dynamics are and where reflected light would go. And I would ask this one question about the unmapped Washington Avenue. It looks like that might be the only place to set up crane. And if that is not the location where a crane for construction would be placed, or perhaps in these so-called extra setbacks, that's perhaps the location where such staging, cranes, and scaffolding has to go anyway. So
Harriet, I'm sorry, I had to cut you off. I appreciate that. And that the context of what will happen on that street is something that they have said that they will come back with. Maureen Silverman and then Sean. Welcome, Maureen.
Thank you. Just want to also support the tenants in opposing this project, and I want to be specific about certain things that Stella did and the ingenuousness in saying that they work with the community, they care of diversity and affordability. This Lori Powell, I think her name, said she couldn't afford pizza. Well, the one reason why she can't afford pizza is because there was a pizza store downstairs owned by Stella Management's commercial arm, Bernardo, and they told us that they had to leave because Stellar Management doubled or tripled their rent. And there were other small businesses that Stella pushed out by increasing their rents to enormous amounts of money. So we don't, then in terms of communication, how could we trust Stellar when our tenants, they told our tenants association they would speak with them before they made a decision about what they would do with the area that now is a very high-end family center. When we told them we needed a supermarket, and without coming back to us, they built a family center instead of a supermarket. How could we trust Stellar Management when those of us who worked in the tenant movement across the city know that Stellar Management is known to being one of the biggest evictors in the city and pushing out people from their tenants in unscrupulous ways? So we don't trust Stellar Management. They've mistreated many of the tenants, and they did not. And also, there are landlords across the city who claim that they're building affordable housing when it's really quite high income, or there's a tiny percentage of real affordable housing. So I want to know what the rents would be in those units that are affordable. And again, the exact percentage and number, I think maybe it's 10%, but also what are the rents going to be in those? But nevertheless.
Maureen, thank you very much. Sean, you're next.
Sean Scott, resident and work in C1. Acknowledge a lot of really valid, good concerns that I've heard here. I also wanted to say that I care about affordability and being able to live in New York, and especially the comment of having young people be able to move to the city. And the new Furman Center paper confirmed that supply does help bring down rents across the city. And so hoping that we can find a way to make this project move forward in a way that's respectful to the community, but does build these much needed units.
Thanks. It was a bit garbled, Sean, but I think we got the point. With that, we're going to turn back to hands up in the room. Let's see, two in the back, but yes, ma'am, you first.
Wendy Wasdell, 67 Hudson Street. I just wanted there to be awareness too that you keep talking about community. We are a community that's beyond a few blocks that are Independence Plaza. That will have a huge impact on all these low buildings that surround the tower. You've got your tower placed right on the foot of the beginning of J Street, not on either side of the street. That shadow will block tremendous amount of light. It's barely, I can rarely go out the door now and get some sun without having to go, okay, I can stand here for 10 minutes because the sun is going to move past that tower. I'm going to move to this next block. Maybe the sun will reach me here. I would like to know how you're talking to the community, addressing the community. The only way I had notice for this meeting was, thank goodness, for somebody who lives in Independence Plaza and our dear senior center. So I've been down here 50 years, and we've looked at Sandy, we've seen backup sewage. We have infrastructure problems down here. How are you addressing the community? And are you even approaching us?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you answer that?
Sure. In terms of addressing the community and how we're approaching it, again, as was described and discussed in our presentation, this is the start of that process, right? So there's going to be numerous additional public hearings. We're going to be doing a detailed environmental impact study that looks into all those things you talked about. And that's published, that's reviewed by the Department of City Planning. It's made available to the public, it's made available to the community board. And so those are some of the ways that we would be addressing those.
Okay, there was another person in the back and then we're gonna come around. We are not going second calls this meeting. So I apologize to the architect, but we're not going that one second calls.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Pellman. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Hanover River House, which is located on the intersection of Jay and Greenwich Street. We first and foremost wanted to state on the record that we stand with our neighbors at Independence Plaza, many of whom are elderly members of our community and who've lived here for decades. We recognize that Tribeca would not be the vibrant neighborhood that it is today if it wasn't for the longstanding commitment to building this community by those people. And we will not feel comfortable standing idle while our neighbors are pushed out of their homes and common spaces or subjected to unlivable conditions should this project move forward. Second, we do not believe that this project could possibly meet the legal standard for a minor modification. This characterization to us is a transparent attempt to bypass the mandatory approval process, which is likely to reject a project of this nature. If this project would not be approved by the city council due to its sheer scale, it just doesn't make sense that it could possibly be backdoored in as a minor change to the existing landscape. And finally, we want to state clearly that the residents of 335 Greenwich are united in our opposition to this plan in its current form. We believe that the critical questions about the impact remain unanswered and should be answered even at this early stage. And we can only assume that the impacts will be untenable and destroy this beautiful community. We ask that you take the views of the community into account and rethink this plan before even asking the City Planning Commission to approve it. But should you move forward, we want to make you aware that we are prepared to ensure that our concerns are taken seriously. And in that vein, my question to you is to confirm that you have not to date done any studies on the impact to the infrastructure or environment from this project.
That's correct.
But to date, you have done studies on the amount of profit that your company will make should this project.
We have done some of those preliminary analysis, that's correct.
Thank you very much for.
So, Stuart Gold, I'm also have lived at Hanover River House for 37 years now. My question is the environmental impact statement a requirement, or is this something you're doing voluntarily?
Wow. It's not, EIS is not required.
Right, so I just want to make sure.
Sorry, hold on one second. Fred.
No, I think, there's been a lot of talk about minor and major. The requirement to do an EIS is based on a city procedure that looks at numerous factors, and if certain factors are met, you must do a full environmental impact statement. We believe that it's likely that this would require a full environmental impact statement. So what Adam says is correct. We're not trying to not do one. There's an alternate process called environmental assessment. We believe that we don't believe this is a minor project. We believe it is a non-Mueller project, and we believe that a full environmental impact statement is appropriate, and that is what we intend to prepare.
Okay, so, but you're not certain that it's required, so, my point is, the way things stand right now, as far as we know, you can say at any point, well, here's an issue, but we're doing this voluntarily, so we're gonna skip this issue because we're confident
That's why I interrupted Anna, because, there are certain things certain types of impacts that automatically trigger a full EIS. One of which is based on construction duration, for example, and I think it's unlikely that this project could be built in a time that wouldn't trigger a full EIS, and there are probably several other criteria. That's what's going to happen. There will be a full EIS.
Okay, well, I still don't feel as comfortable. And the only other thing I will just say, because we're early in the process, you're right, but as a retired lawyer with a lot of time, as Stephanie said, the community will not stand by without taking action if we feel that this project ultimately, and I've got to assume you have a backup plan to the 900-foot tower. There's a lot of time, a lot of talent, and we will do what we need to do. Good.
One of the other things that I'm just gonna comment and say is a 900-foot tower. We're building a brand new estuarium in Hudson River Park behind where you are. We've spent thousands of public dollars in making Hudson River Park what it is, with Pier 25 and Pier 26 and a brand new playground, millions of dollars, I should say, and both public and private. And it does concern me that an environmental impact is more than just on the residents that are there. It's the neighbors across the street. It's the landmark nature of what you have. It is everything across the street.
Schools, as was brought up.
Yeah, I mean,
Traffic.
I won't even go on how 150 ended up moving, so I won't even go down that road there. I mean, that's water under the bridge. But I do think that I find it, as a board chair, knowing all the complications that this property has, seeing the many projects that we have, knowing the changes from commercial to residential that are coming down the pike to us, I find it awfully odd that this would be a minor mod. I don't honestly, I am not a land use expert, but having sat in this chair for the last 3.5 years with incredible talent around me to help us, it strikes me as a 940-foot tower that is highly effective environmentally on everything around. How that could be minor is really striking. So
I don't think any.
Yeah, I think Fred put it eloquent, or I think I would echo what Fred said in terms of we are not trying to convince people that the project is minor. It is a non-ULURP in accordance with the rule that's interpreted by city planning.
I'm not one usually to put our friends from the city on the spot, but would anybody from the Department of City Planning, who's in the room tonight, like to maybe just give us a 30-second sort of tutorial on that notion of minor modification versus major? And I'm looking at on that side of the room, if you're able to.
I'm not a housing expert, admittedly. Ezra, I don't know if you're online and can say anything.
Yes.
Yeah, I am. Hi, sorry for the voice. I have COVID, everybody. But I think it's a little bit early at this time to be discussing, but generally speaking, the difference between a non-ULURP and a modification and a ULURP modification is whether or not any new waivers are being requested or whether there's any increase in existing waivers that have been previously approved. So that'd be the concise version.
And the difference between something that's titled minor and something that's titled major.
It's a misnomer. There is no such thing as a minor modification anymore. There's a non-ULURP modification, which, as I alluded to, was is when there are no new waivers being sought and there's no increase in the degree of previously approved waivers. And then there's a ULURP modification in which new waivers would be sought.
Ezra, thanks. I appreciate that. I think that helps clear up a little bit of the nomenclature. So that's helpful. I'm going to give the last word to Lupe Hernandez from the Public Advocate's Office.
I am actually here as a community board or a resident of Independence Plaza. So thank you, if that's okay. And I apologize. I was presenting at CB2 as a New York City parent for their education committee meeting earlier. Otherwise, I'd be there in person with you guys. As a resident, a longtime resident at Independence Plaza, and I will say one of the youngest and newest members of IPNTA that has not really been active recently, but this definitely activated me as a constituent, and it alarmed me because we are struggling when they talk about affordability. Lap tenants such as myself have been struggling with the rent increases as is and dealing with lack of even just basic remedy that is been gone through 311. So even just getting lead abatement in my own apartment took me calling several times. We have plumbing issues. The newest neighbors on the floors that have been renovated are with many students, young people, that they're giving leases to them individually. So you have apartments that have like 4 to 6 different leases. That means Stellar's collecting, 4 to 6 different deposits on these apartments. These apartments were renovated and the occupation permits, it said no occupation change, yet they added bathrooms, they added washer and dryers to these apartments. Meanwhile, tenants that have been there for 30 plus years are still sitting in an apartment with that looks like the 70s and things are falling apart. Many of the tenants before me spoke about how they have tried to evict us many times, and it's by no means like claiming that they don't know who you are, you're John and Jane Doe, yet you've lived there your entire life. The tax vacancies that they're collecting from those storefronts. In fact, we had all of our storefronts that left. She spoke about a pizzeria. That rent was going to go from $10,000 to $60,000 and ended up being empty from before Sandy to just recently. To about a year ago, I think one of those storefronts were finally filled. But Stellar has been practicing horrible management, and I think it's really absurd that they would call this minor. And the fact that there's apartments currently in Independence Plaza that need upkeep, basic upkeep, just to keep the quality of life well. And that's not happening. And the lack of, when they say child care, the child care center they brought in that replaced our only supermarket that was affordable for many of our seniors and low income families, it was replaced by a very high priced kids area that a majority of us can't even utilize. So I really implore you guys to please do not consider this minor by any means. This is going to be detrimental to the community.
Private citizen Hernandez, we appreciate it. So, Carl, I do see your hand up. Do you think you can ask a very quick question, or do you have other questions that we could refer you to the applicant? Carl's a member of the press as well.
Carl, you're unmuted.
Of construction is to be, and my second question is, what is the projected cost of the project?
Carl, we missed the first question. If you could re-ask that, please.
What is the projected time of construction? How many years? And how much do you project it to cost?
We'll have to get back to you on this.
Oh, Carl, they're saying they'll need to get back to you on both of those, so we'll connect you guys. Thanks for the question. Richard, I think you had one quick point, but before I'll let you sort of wrap it up, I just wanted to confirm, when will the next meeting be? When will we be, what will we be covering? When do we expect to see you all again?
I don't believe we are planning to come back on the 20th or the 21st at that next meeting.
Okay.
For the full community board.
Right, I think we're talking about summer of 24 being the next full community, but in front of you guys, I don't think we can.
No, but we'll come back.
Yeah, it won't be in the December full community board meeting. We will be.
No, but I mean, certainly there were a lot of questions raised. In the process of a dialogue, it's two-way. You presented some information, you've heard what the community said. I'm sure city planning has heard what the community has said, having sat here for an hour plus through the presentation. We would expect you to come back in Q1.
Can you give us a definition of when we're gonna see the DEIS? Can you tell us when approximately?
That's like over a year from now.
Over a year. And what is your next agency regulatory hurdle? What's your next deadline as an applicant? Is there anything?
I don't believe there is one. I don't believe there is.
You filed your PAS and it was just approved.
That's what I thought. It wasn't approved.
No.
Three applications.
That's right.
We
yeah.
haven't filed an application.
All right, we're playing this council member and then we're gonna move on.
My last ask is please do not present over the summer. Many people are away, kids are out of school. I know it's a strategy to say that you're doing community engagement, but what we see is really low turnout. Please do it in the spring, in the fall, and the winter.
Good. All right, thank you, everybody, on that topic. I appreciate it. And to the applicants, thank you, members of the community.
So,
Okay, we are gonna move on to our next item.
So everyone from the member of the public, if you are leaving.
Yes.
Why? Please do not talk in the hallways till you get
I
to the
know.
elevator.
William.
Our next item,
Sit at either end.
our next item is the section 197C, application for the disposition of city land by Department of Citywide Administrative Services regarding 7 North Moore. Hang on before we get to that.
What I just say was we couldn't talk about, and I think you're critical, this is the end. It's as it was right. And that's a big piece of what we have.
Wish you would have given me a last moment. Patrick, thank you very much. Patrick, I wish you would have given me the last moment there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sure to have, you have plenty of time. All right, we're moving on to 7 North Moore.
That's fine. You're the only one that has that.
We have, is it?
Yes.
That projection affects.
Oh, yeah. I don't think literally. It's up to you. Just, I don't know, I'm sure the owl will pick you up there, but most importantly, introduce yourself. Next.
Oh, a lot, but it's okay.
Well, this is. Thank you very much.
It's a right.
I'm gonna go for tax.
Well,
Pick up.
at least welcome to something.
I can't wait to hear the presentation. I'm just gonna close the door to make sure that we can hear you and.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but when they come to you for a permit for a fence, well, that would be long gone, too long gone.
Okay, I say, let's go.
Let's do it.
Guys, thank you. We've got another applicant ready to present. She's been patiently waiting for 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right, good evening. My name is Chuck Canary. I'm the Assistant Commissioner of the Facilities Planning and Engineering Group at the New York City Department of Sanitation. I will be giving you an overview of the proposed disposition ULURP action for the property on 7 North Moore Street, located in the Tribeca neighborhood of Manhattan. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues at the Department of Citywide Administrative Services. Next slide, please.
Sorry. Should be better.
This is a map showing the property located at 7 North Moore Street. It's between Varick Street and West Broadway. I know the zoom is a little tough, but
We got it.
you got it?
We know where it is.
Perfect.
We love it.
Great
Next-
building.
Next slide, please. This 3-story building, it's approximately 3,393 square feet in size. And that's the center. This property was in use as a Department of Sanitation section house between 1960 and 2015. Section stations, they typically serve as a break facility for sanitation employees that are out in the field. These facilities, they provide employees with locker rooms, bathrooms, and a pantry to eat their meals. This site was also used as the headquarters of the Manhattan Inspection Division, now referred to as the Permanent Inspection Unit. In 2015, the 7 North Moore Street section station functions were relocated to the Spring Street Garage that's located at 500 Washington Street, which was built in 2014. Next slide, please. Lot 47 is approximately 1,406 square feet. Lot 47 is approximately 18 foot wide and is approximately 75 feet in depth. The building is zoned as a C6 2A and is also within the designated Tribeca misuse district as well. Next slide. Up on the screen is a zoning map showing the property location. Next slide. Since the section station's functions were relocated, DSNY has considered repurposing the buildings for another use, but the idea halted due to high capital costs and the small size of the building. During this time, the building has sustained some water damage, which has caused the presence of mold. This is an additional photo of the interior. These are pictures taken today. Since the closing of the facilities in 2015, the building has remained unused. DCAS has reached out to HPD about this building. The HPD Office of Neighborhood Strategies reviewed and informed DCAS that it does not have programs to finance only a few affordable units like this property. Due to the fact that this building is sitting vacant with no present or future programmed city use, it is at risk of falling into disrepair and potentially contributing to blight. Thus, DCAS on behalf of DSNY is seeking disposition approval of this property. This approval will provide the city with the flexibility to sell the property in the future. With that, we'll open it up to questions.
Thanks.
Okay, Richard? Is this an opportunity to put affordable housing on this?
We had reached out to HPD, and HPD Office of Neighborhood Strategies reviewed and informed us that due to the size of it, it's not, they don't have programs to finance for something that would only provide a few affordable housing units. So no, they don't feel that this would be an opportunity for that.
Even with the migrant issue that we have, with the homeless issue that we have, there's nothing that can be put in this that would have some benefit?
We'll take 10 units of housing versus 0. I mean, we've lost literally, if you ask Senator Kavanaugh, he will tell you our district has lost more affordable housing than any other in the state. So any amount of affordable housing is better than 0.
I mean, I fully understand that. I don't work for HPD and I can't speak in their behalf in that. I mean, they did review it and this is the answer that we had received, that due to the size of it.
Because they can get a lot of money for it. That's the whole point. The city could provide, an HPD can provide money, they could build, they can do a number of things. Sorry to speak out of turn.
So I want to ask, if we approve this, don't choke, Vicky, on this, don't choke. Does that preclude pursuing this question further? What does that mean for us to approve this now?
It means you've given the building back to the city, so can sell it.
You'll discuss it with the highest
That's what
bidder?
it means.
Sell it to the highest bidder, exactly.
Councilmember?
Yeah, that was the point I was gonna make. You know, this is a thing to consider a blind deposition where you just give it up and there's no way you can negotiate. There's no way you can potentially go through a ULURP process in the future. And, you know, this is why I don't support this action because, you know, this is part of our community and we should know what gets built there, right? It's public land, it's public property. We should have a say in this and not just give it away.
And they let it deteriorate.
And we also don't agree that it'll create plight in that neighborhood, because if you walk through there, you know, the neighborhood is active. It's one of the most beautiful streets in our district. So, yeah, there's a lot of good uses that can go there.
So there are no plans for the site? I mean, I've seen that identified in your presentation.
That's correct. I mean, it's, we reached out to HPD and our other sister agencies have not come forward with a proposal. So, this, you know, seeking this disposition approval gives the city the flexibility to sell in the future.
Well,
And it's been, you know,
No.
closed since 2015.
I'd like to have a resolution considered against this.
Yes. I don't know whether this is, I'm not sure of the entire process, but have any developers approached the city, the current owners, about developing the land?
No, I mean, not that I'm aware of in any way. So, I mean, what happens is.
Keep with that, no, but I asked
Wait,
the things.
Sorry.
It's not.
Due to the way it's set up in the city charter, the way DCAS sells property is to the highest bidder. So we don't take proposals. We don't take, requests for proposals in that sense. I think the way that, I mean, I wasn't there when the city charter put the rules in regards to disposition for DCAS were there. But it is for transparency and in the sense of in the fact that to the highest bidder.
I have to respectfully disagree on that. We've been through this before, right at the end of the Bloomberg administration. I distinctly remember a prepackaged disposition of a number of properties, including one where our offices used to be at 4951 Chambers Street. So the cart can come before the horse. We fully know that, and that's why I asked the question. Tammy?
Can you please explain to me,
Wait,
what
Tammy?
DCAS is and what disposition is so I can follow?
DCAS, is the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, they are.
I know,
and-
okay, I
Okay,
just
you know
didn't
what
know the
that is. Great.
acronym, yeah.
Disposition means to sell, get rid of,
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
unload.
Okay,
So I'm just gonna say that I appreciate what you've said. I appreciate that the building has been left to rot for 18 years, or 8 years rather. That particular building in that particular area, we as a board have voted on, if you look 2 buildings down, when that building was being developed, we voted on the additions and the setbacks that came with that building. We voted on the additions on the buildings left and right of that. So while the building itself, for what you're talking about right now, being a 3-story building at 7 Northmore, might be untenable for affordable housing in its current iteration, I completely understand that. But I do not agree with HPD, because I don't think they've actually looked at what is left and right of the building. It could be a 9-story building, because that's what it is with the setback 2 down. So the precedent on the block is very clear there for what's been built, and it's deep. So there's no reason that we can't actually get more affordable housing units and a proper building there. So whether they're all studios or however the mayor wants to do his new, affordable housing little things, this could be a potential boon to have affordable housing. And I don't think anybody, as you've heard from the, 75 people who are in this room and the 125 people who are online, affordable housing retains to be the most pressing concern we have. We have seen, since the time that I've been on this board, every city building sold to be luxury condos or event spaces, every city asset sold for profit purposes, while affordable housing drained bit by bit by bit, by expirations from 421A, by buildings being sold, opportunities lost. So I'd make a motion, no offense intended, you are lovely gentlemen to be here, but I'd make a motion to deny this.
I second.
Great. Yeah, so
Question before the.
we can debate. That's good. So Rosie, you have that chance to ask.
Yes, so what is the plan if, this isn't approved for the usage of the space? Do you have any plan for usage of the space, or is it that it would just be left in its current condition to just get?
Gonna sell it.
It would
No,
be,
it's-
and
it's-
it would be left in its current condition, because we don't have
And would you
we
be
don't have a
looking
plan,
to
we
lease
don't have.
it in any
Sorry.
way? Would you be looking to lease it in any way? And
Well, if you, disposition approval also gives the ability to do a long-term lease. It's not only just for sale.
and what's the maximum buildable square foot on this lot with the current zoning?
Wait, maximum square, right now, the whole size of the lot is 18 feet wide and 70 feet deep. And the total square footage is like about 1,400 square feet.
Isn't it FAR 2.4, and it can be built up to 5.4 and then some?
So what would that?
That sounds about right. I don't have it in
Right,
front of me.
I didn't do the whole math, but it
Yeah.
can be a lot bigger than what.
Yeah, like 6 or 7 or 8.
Eight floors, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
I think the areas are the better use for it than just
It's a bowling alley.
building it up.
Couple
Do
bowling
you
alleys.
have any intention of, developing it themselves rather than?
Well, we don't have any sponsor agency at this time that's come up with any proposal
Could we,
for the property.
could we request that HPD come? I mean,
Yeah.
we know a lovely gentleman who's chief of staff over there who we like quite a lot.
Yeah.
Perhaps he could come back and, our former DM is over there.
Okay.
So, but we would really like HPD to come and talk to us.
Acknowledging Richard, is next in line, but can I ask, no, that's a good point.
Sure.
Is there any rush to this?
What do you mean in a rush? I mean, it's in a ULURP, so there is a time in regards to that.
Yeah, we have.
Full the application, right?
I mean, is that, yeah, I mean, that is possible.
Or waylay it for a while while we see if there are other alternatives.
Yes, that is an option.
Do you have the authority?
Being the agency, yes, we could withdraw it.
I'm sorry, so why do you have a ULURP application for?
I'm sorry?
Hey, you have
So,
a ULURP application?
Yes, this is a ULURP application.
Or Vicky, hang on, Richard's next. Okay.
No, I still I don't understand that a sale requires a ULURP
Yes, so you look at.
of a city property.
yes, city.
Thank you, didn't know that.
Sorry, Richard?
So the slides, the photos that you show of the building is disgusting. It's in disrepair, probably rats running around in it. And we know that the city and the Department of Sanitation in particular is focused on eradicating, or doing its best to eradicate rats. Why doesn't the Department of Sanitation have an obligation to keep that building at least clean and free of vermin and free of mold? It's a menace to the neighborhood as it stands now. And until something changes, doesn't the Department of Sanitation have an obligation to protect the
Maintain their-
neighborhood and the neighboring surroundings by keeping that building clean?
We do have an obligation, however, as we mentioned in the presentation, the operations in the facility have since relocated to Spring Street. And, we have not, occupied that space in the past 8
But it is your space. It is owned by or under the obligation of the Department of Sanitation, and whether or not it's being occupied, you have an obligation to keep it safe at the very least. And currently, it's certainly not safe for the surrounding community.
Yeah.
If I can just add to this report on the, when you showed these slides, it's a beautiful building for 1939. I pass it every day. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. And the fact that one room, according to your presentation to Department of Planning, which I bothered to read, only one room has a bit of the mold in it, and you allow that skylight, not you, but the skylight obviously is, somewhat compromised in the water came in. These are things that can be solved. It's not like the whole building is in that kind of state. So I would just want to make clear, and I think our resolution should definitely identify the hope that this could be maintained and fixed in the interim. So I just want to point out that it's the whole building.
So we do have a motion that was seconded.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
And a resolution to consider. What I might suggest, given the promises that were just made about potentially holding the application while we look at other alternatives, is that we do, because I don't want to get looking frankly, that we have a negative resolution, but that we somehow build in language that we're hopeful that the city will live up to the promise of pausing the application while other uses are looked at, but in the event that that does not happen and it moves forward, we oppose it.
And
That's about- I would
the
also add-
Department of Sanitation, get in there and clean it up.
Right, yes, as a therefore be it resolved. Got it.
And HPD comes to review the possibilities.
With other communities, public use.
Yeah, I mean, we'll invite them.
I think we should underline the public use that we want for this building, whether it becomes affordable housing or some other public uses, could be open to that, I imagine.
So with that understanding of the resolution, everybody good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Is there
So-
some concern with this leak and everything? Is this
Is there a concern of like building collapse at this point? Do we know the
Not
structure?
according to what I read. It was a one room. I mean, you can tell us, but when you presented to department.
What did the gentleman have to say?
Didn't show that.
Is the building gonna fall down?
The building in between two buildings?
We have not been in the building for about 8 years. We don't.
Certainly someone's performed some sort of structural inspection, right?
Don't hold your breath.
Local 11 even, this for whatever.
It's all building.
Required on a building.
Not a separate building.
Get out, make sure it's safe.
Make sure they.
Okay, so we'll say in addition, in conjunction with maintaining it, that, an inspection be conducted to make sure.
And one of the two of us from the community board would be delighted to go along.
Okay. Accepting that from there.
Make them take care of it.
Yes. All right, so with that, we understand what the resolution is gonna look like. So we'll vote by affirmation. You'll be considered a yes unless you pipe up right now and tell me you are a no. Any recusals? Any abstentions? Including online? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Final item on our agenda is an update on citywide zoning text amendment for the City of Yes's, the mayor's City of Yes initiative, zoning for economic opportunity portion, ZEO. Upstairs. Yeah, okay. We are still in sort of the question and answer phase, if you will, and our friends from the Department of City Planning are here to go over additional information they may have to present. Zach will give us an update. Sorry, put you on the spot. In terms of the questions that we have, we did send out a link asking all members of the committee to submit questions. And as of Friday morning, there weren't any submitted. So that's surprising. But we have collated some that we talked about with our land use consultant and submitted those. And were there any others that were submitted after Friday?
Rosa sent in a question.
Okay.
I don't have that up.
So committee members, one more time, we'll send the link out again. Just want to give you every fair opportunity to ask your questions. I don't have to necessarily wait till we're now several hours into a meeting to go over those things. So please get those questions in advance by the Google form link. Yeah.
You're saying in addition to the ones that we posed to George James?
In addition to that, yes, if there are other questions that come up, I'm just trying to streamline the actual meeting time. So that we can make best use of the time by hearing the answers to the questions. And then next month, we're gonna have to formulate our resolution, so.
So one of the things I wanted to ask, the entire conversation about the casinos came out after your presentation to us. So do you have an updated information sheet, presentation, how the casinos fit into proposal 10? We have a lot of questions that we will send to you, but it would have been really great if we got an update from the city on that, because it's a major impact and potentially for us, looking to understand whether or not a casino could potentially be put on Ellis Island or be put at Governor's Island. No, I specifically said both. Governor's Island specifically, it was part of our ULURP conversations, and that use was removed from potential on that island by agreement with the city. So it is concerning to us that potentially, where would this fit in with that? Would it allow potential reuse of some of the historic buildings and a new structure out on Ellis Island that could be considered? And where the other kind of elephant in the room starts to become when the FDR viaduct may or may not come down, but with the resiliency projects on the east side and the 4 potential new development plots that they have on that side, would then casinos be someplace along our east coast? So those are all things that we'd want to know. I mean, I kind of have the sense of where the community board sits on this based on where we went, but if we don't ask the questions, then lessons learned from the Water Street text amendment, if you don't ask, you'll be surprised what comes down the pipe.
Sure. Thank you, Chair, and to those I haven't met last month, Matt Waskevitz, lead planner, City of Yes for Economic Opportunity, also a senior planner within our Economic Development Unit.
Kara, on both your questions regarding gaming facilities, they are not, I repeat, not part of this text amendment. Nothing under consideration as part of City of Yes for Economic Opportunity would enable the use of a gaming facility. That is an entirely separate application, which is also going through referral right now at community boards. If you would like a presentation on that,
Yes, please.
we'll take that back. Just so you know, the way that that zoning text is being structured and is written as proposed, the only gaming facilities that are potentially allowed under this text amendment are the up to 3 gaming facilities allowed in the downstate region. And the zoning text is very clear that that is the case. So to answer your questions about what this could mean in the future, City of Yes for Economic Opportunity would not allow any gaming facility, nor would the casinos text amendment allow for a gaming facility within Community District 1. So that is the direct answer to both of your questions.
We agree with that. Yeah.
All right, that's good to know.
No casino.
No. And then I want to give a shout out to our council member who did send us a really nice grid that we circulated with the board about what potential uses would be new. It's under each proposal. One of the questions and concerns that I don't understand is with the new ability to have growing facilities, not on the ground floor, at upwards, and with the new cannabis rules that are going in, it potentially opens the opportunity for cannabis licenses to be either growers on upper level floors. So, you know, Susan, Rosa, and I live in the same building, and I decide I'm gonna get a grower's license. I could be on the same floor, right below Rosa and next door to Susan, and be growing without proper ventilation and other things, because we live in a lovely old building built in the 30s. It wasn't built for that. Neither were the weight bearing, neither are any of the other things that come with it. So some of the questions that we have is, how do these types of uses work in historic buildings? With what regulations are around that?
Yeah, these are very legitimate questions. I'll start off by saying, I think council member, everyone would agree the way that the state rolled out the legal process has not been ideal, to say the least. And they have made it very difficult for people to do the right thing in obtaining these licenses. And I say that as someone who spent about a year becoming an expert on this, even though it's not at all a part of the proposal. So on your question about cultivation, even if we made no changes to zoning whatsoever, you could, in any part of the district that's zoned as mixed use or zoned as manufacturing, you could do indoor cultivation. The zoning allows it today if you obtain your license from the state. What this proposal would allow is for you to have indoor agriculture in any place that is zoned as commercial. And so that could be tomatoes, and that if you get a license from the state, could be cannabis. Now, Chair, your question was around historic buildings. This is a change of use. Agriculture is not allowed indoors in any commercial area today. And so it would necessitate, before beginning operation, the full inspection that is done with any change of use. So that's building code, that's ventilation, and the mechanical code, that's fire code. That's everything to bring that building up to code to allow for that change of use, because there is no, what would be in the future use group 1, agriculture is not a permitted use in commercial areas indoors.
And we're changing it now for economic opportunity?
That's right. So as part of the proposals
You're
today.
kidding me, I'm exhausted from tonight. You sound like these private developers. I mean, really, the city wants this? Is this fabulous? Are we really gonna excel? Huh? Hot cells, I know. I'm sorry.
Let him answer the question.
Yeah, and it's a fair question. So agriculture as a use is a lot more than just cannabis, and that's actually where this proposal came from in the first place.
Right.
So there's a lot of folks out there who are starting to do more with things like hydroponic greens and strawberries and tomatoes, and it's a growing industry, and you see it a lot of it just across the river in New Jersey. in Jersey City and in Hoboken, in and around. There's a massive vertical farming facility in Kearney, New Jersey, which is a former industrial area there. Part of the reason that's over there is because the zoning is very permissive of that kind of use. But we see that innovation happening across the river. And when you speak to people who are doing this kind of work, mostly in Brooklyn and Queens right now, they would like to locate in office buildings closer where restaurants are, closer where people are. There's also a lot of science behind this too. And what we hear from the EDC is there's a sort of weird gray area in zoning today where you're maybe not life sciences, but maybe you're more food science. You're doing plant-based alternative meats, for example, and you're doing research on that. Technically, you might be considered agriculture. And so in many of these instances that are not even close to cannabis, there's a lot of innovation happening and zoning is holding it back. We think these businesses are very appropriate for a place like Community District 1, particularly because you have lots of people with interest in that sort of innovation. You have great restaurants here that could benefit from it. You could see high-end restaurants starting to sell mushrooms that they grow and then chop them up into salads, for example. You're seeing that across the country and other countries as well, but it's another place where zoning is holding back. So that is separate and apart from all of the very valid concerns around cannabis. Agriculture is a growing industry in the city today, and zoning is holding it back.
I would actually be in support of that, just as someone who grows my own lettuce at home in a little tower. Obviously, that's not agriculture for personal use, but I do think that there's a difference between freshness of produce and like your ability to get it in a timely manner. I also think that we have a lot of deep square footage office space, which currently we're having a bit of an issue with in Lower Manhattan, and that there are foreseeable uses for that related to that. I'm 100% opposed to cannabis, but it seems like agriculture would be a welcome addition to the community, and I'd be in support of it.
So the question is then, like Rose is saying, she's okay to grow lettuce, but not cannabis. And what mechanisms does city planning have in what you're doing with the zoning text amendments to be able to qualify the difference between, growing lettuce is very different than growing something that's a smokable item.
Not from a land use perspective. So
Correct.
from a land use perspective,
So you can grow lettuce, you can grow tobacco and marijuana, and you can't draw a line down the middle.
Unless we were more specific. No.
the distinction that the state makes in its licensing for cannabis is quite clear. They do have different regulations for cannabis cultivation as opposed for any other kind of agricultural product that falls under the state.
But
So from a regulatory perspective, the state does treat them in their approach of licensing differently. But from a land use perspective, the state is very clear that they are agricultural products and that the way that we are meant to interpret them as the city is the same.
So there is no way to divide it. And the only way that OCM has is they have different licensure requirements,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But if it's allowed, it's allowed. It's much like the conversations we're having about exclusive use and non-exclusive use of public community facilities, private community facilities, schools, daycares, nurseries, etc. So you want lettuce, along with lettuce comes potentially other parts of agriculture that you would not be happy growing next door to you, and there's no way to slice anything in between.
Correct. And it's not just lettuce, it's the growing of lettuce, the traffic of lettuce, the working of lettuce. It is not just nicely growing lettuce in your home.
Right.
Or even on your roof for your building. If you're gonna take over a whole building, what does that mean in every which way?
Councilman?
And I think that's like, we've been having this debate about economic opportunity at our office. Is like, as urban planners, like you're almost giving away your power from saying what can happen in a specific building, in a specific lot, and it almost creates like a Wild West where you're gonna allow different things on different
Yeah.
floors, barber shops, and we talked about that when we had a meeting. But like, how do you feel about that? Like, you're just like, city planning was created so then you guys have a plan for the city. And manufacturing happens in some areas, residentials are kept away from, big mechanical use or certain chemicals that are being used. And now you're just almost allowing a little bit everywhere. And so just wanted to hear your perspective on that.
Thank you, Councilmember, for the opportunity to respond on that, because our 1961 zoning resolution predates almost any other environmental or technological or other kind of code that now supersede and provide a lot more safeguards and specifics around that mixing of different kinds of uses. So whereas 60 some odd years ago, there wasn't a whole lot. We were pre-environmental revolution, we were pre-Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, and all of that. There was nothing city, state, or federal that was really separating a big noxious factory from the people who were working at that factory, for example. And so we created zoning where you have residential, you have commercial, and you have manufacturing. And we saw almost immediately that start to break down. We saw that right here with Tribeca and other mixed-use neighborhoods, where a lot of the proposals that we have in City of Yes actually come from things that have been in place in places like Tribeca for a very long time. For example, home occupations. Or, for example, a lot of the regulations that came into place for Lower Manhattan after 9/11, that was also proposals that we're now taking citywide. A lot of the changes for allowing, for example, uses in our C5 districts to occur in a greater mix of businesses in our C5 districts. So we're living that experiment of, for decades now, a greater mixing of uses. In this district in particular, there are many other districts in the city that haven't seen that natural experiment take place, but this is a unique district that has. So when it comes to a lot of these proposals and that separation, what we find is a lot of the other safeguards we have in place that I can go in more detail on do in fact work and work quite well. And two, it doesn't reflect the economy that we had, nor the economy that we have currently to keep this clear separation in place. So I think it's more philosophical than it is anything else, but I wanted to respond on that front.
Matt, Zach reminds me that you guys have a deck of 79 slides, which
We're not going through it.
Yeah, we'll send that out to
Just for
everybody, but it looked like the first four until you get to the appendix are important. I didn't even want to cut you guys off. If
No,
you
no,
wanted to
please.
get to them, feel free.
I
If you
wanted-
like this format, whatever you got.
And are any of them new?
So the ones that are new are the front little bit of the
Just new.
presentation. And then there's the reason why it's so lengthy is a lot of the slides that are in the back end, we've already shared, but if we need to jump them for whatever reason, we have them. So real quick, my name is Matt Gutierrez. I'm a borough planner at the Department of City Planning. Thank you for having us tonight. So about a month ago, it's good to see some familiar faces from last month. We had a really robust and spirited conversation about ZEO. So we're coming back tonight to answer more questions, but one thing that we know for a fact that you guys want to hear about, you specifically asked about Governor's Island and how ZEO would affect that special district. So I want to make sure that we get to that, and then that could lead to a conversation on that, or we can transition into other topics, kind of a free form conversation like we've been having so far. And then
Before you dive in on Governor's Island, though, I'll just set the stage. Citywide zoning text amendment, so we're making changes to the entire city all at once, all 59 community districts all at once. We also have roughly 6 special purpose districts that have their own overlapping sets of regulations. And in some cases, they are very different because they were created over a span of 6 decades. So in going through this work, there were 3 out of the 18 proposals we found that intersected with special districts. That's proposal 2, where you have different use allowances in different districts. Proposal 6, where we're updating the terms for each of our zoning uses and use groups. And proposal 12 around streetscape provisions and creating and enhancing the streetscape regulations that we have. So those, when we talk about Governor's Island, or we talk about the other 3 special districts in your community district, those are the 3 proposals that affect the special districts by necessity, because you couldn't have, say, one set of uses that used to match the underlying zoning but no longer do in the special district. And then you have completely new definitions in the C1s, for example, for the rest of the city. So we had to make some changes. I think where I want to invite discussion and invite feedback, and with the council member here, invite edits, frankly, is where you think the changes we've made are not matching with the community intent of the district. I'll be clear that it is not our intent to make changes that don't match what you all think made sense for the special district. But that is our intent, but I want to make sure that we are, through discussions, making sure that that does in fact be the case. So with that, back to you, Matt.
Great. So yeah, we can go to the next slide, please. So it's a lot of text and it might be small, but I'm going to go through this. So we're going to first just remind everyone about what's currently in place in the special district in Governor's Island. So the northern sub-district is an R3 residence district, and the southern sub-district is a C4 commercial district. In the northern sub-district, commercial uses are limited to 7,500 square feet as of right, and require a CPC certification beyond that. The sub-district permits a wide range of commercial uses, including hotels and indoor-outdoor entertainment. It also permits most retail service and also some small-scale production uses. In the southern district, a wider range of uses is permitted. So this also includes hotels, indoor-outdoor entertainment, but it also permits a wider range of retail service, as well as production uses, like also adding to that list, storage and various forms of infrastructure that serve Governor's Island. Additionally, the southern sub-district includes an open space area with a separate set of use regulations. So in this area, this allows parks and some outdoor entertainment uses, as well as eating or drinking establishments. Also, piers can include water-related uses, such as storage, and again, more infrastructure, various types of infrastructure that are need to be in place to support Governor's Island.
But the infrastructure is coming anyway.
Sorry?
The infrastructure is coming.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, typically infrastructure still has to be a defined use, even if it's, yes. So when we mean infrastructure, that's kind of what we mean. In the future, it's use group 4, where we're trying to consolidate a bunch of different infrastructure uses in the zoning today.
This is as it is.
This
now.
is today. This is today.
You're going to identify what's changing here?
In one moment, we're going to go to the next slide, and then we're going to highlight.
Yeah, yeah.
Because yeah, kind of as Matt was just saying, it's like a lot of these changes, a lot of these special districts are staying in place, but we just want to highlight the specific parts that are changing. So real quick, what is currently in place that's affecting the entire special district. So commercial uses and residential uses are allowed to be located in the same story of the building if there's no access within the building on floors containing dwelling units. And then special access requirements apply for some uses, and enclosure requirements apply to production uses. There's also transparency requirements that apply to specified frontages. So now if we go to the next slide, we'll be focusing on things that are changing. So
Zach, the next slide.
no.
This is the correct slide.
believe it or not, it looks exactly like the last slide. It just has some, look at the orange.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, I know that.
So in black is existing, just for comparison. In orange are the nature of the changes being made, and we can describe in more detail.
Exactly. So and even if you can't read it, it's a bit far away. I'm going to go through it right now. So in the northern sub-district, the 7,500 square foot size limit on commercial uses would continue to apply. Hotels, studios, indoor, outdoor entertainment, those would continue to be permitted. Consistent with the proposal, a wider range of retail service uses and small scale production uses would be allowed in a neighborhood commercial district. So those would be permitted as well. The proposal would translate the special district's permitted restricted uses into ZEO's new use group framework. And the proposal would maintain the general framework of these permitted uses in the northern and southern sub-districts, but there would be minor updates to cross references and the use terminology. So we spoke about, and I believe it's now publicly available, the updated list, the use descriptions and definitions. And if you haven't seen those, we're happy to share that with everyone. Yeah. In the southern subdistrict, the current framework of permitted uses would also be maintained. So this would also include, you know, hotels, production studios, indoor, outdoor entertainment uses. It would also include storage uses, and as I mentioned earlier, other infrastructural uses that are needed to support the island. Consistent with the proposal, a wider range of retail service uses, as well as small scale production uses, would be allowed in the underlying C4 district. And then transitioning to the open space area. So the uses that are permitted in that area would also be maintained. Provisions regarding commercial and residential uses on the same floor, however, would be removed because this would be superseded by the changes of the underlying zoning district.
So that's proposal 5, where allowing residential and commercial on the same story. Governor's Island already allows it, and because Governor's Island Special District already allows this, we're removing it because it's being proposed for the rest of the city, so it's duplicative.
Right, so yeah, basically citywide changes are taking a lot of inspiration from existing policies that are happening in special districts.
And it is word for word the exact thing we proposed citywide, and you'll see that repeated in the other special districts, for example. Tribeca, exact same regulations that we're proposing elsewhere already exist for decades in Tribeca.
And the proposal would also maintain the special building element and access provisions to for the island campus. I'll just also note that at the very bottom of the slide, you see there's no text that's red, that basically indicating that the provisions that are affecting the entire special district, those will all be maintained as well. So that is kind of a crash course in some of the most notable changes that will be happening to this special district. We know that this is very near and dear to your hearts. You spent a lot of time on the special district, so we wanted to make sure that we give you this, at least a start of a conversation that we could have about how this would be effective.
And just to repeat, our intent is not to make changes here. We just want to update things. So if we are doing something that is doing harm or perceived harm, let us know. And this is definitely, we want discussion on this. We want to make sure that we get this right, but yeah, I'll leave it here.
And I'll also just add that just like with last time, you have the slides. I know the text is small, so all of this, if we're moving relatively quickly, you'll have access to all this text and you'll be able to dig into it. And all the appendices, there's loads of information.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get this out to all the committee members if we haven't gotten it. Yes. Yes, Vicky.
I need a clarification. Sorry, did you say that not just here, but everywhere in the city, we're going to have mixed use, so like residential can have commercial on the same floor? So let's say I'm in a residence and next door to me is not a lettuce grower, but a casting studio. So there are 50 people going, hey, Susie, stretching in the hallway. Like that's
So that would not happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, we don't want that to happen. We don't think that's a good idea. What we are allowing is something that's allowed in a lot of places today, which is you can have commercial on the ground floor typically. And higher density areas, you can have commercial on the first 2 floors.
Okay.
And then usually it's residences above.
Yes.
But there are a lot of places where you might want to take, say, one elevator bank of that building and convert it to residential. And then you might want to continue having offices above it. That's called stacking rules in our zoning today.
That's fine, yeah.
We want to allow for that kind of conversion of buildings over time.
Oh, but not on the same floor.
There are also some places where we are doing that.
No, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna put a casting studio next to my house.
But they would have separate entrances entirely. So
Like they could be, like, so for example,
Yeah.
there's 2 doors to a given apartment building, and they decide to allow the service entrance to be used for a casting studio. If there's one set of elevator banks, they could potentially just key off one and it would still be on Vicky's floor, because they've walked in through the loading dock or whatever service entrance that they deem, and then take the elevator up
You still have to have a partition.
They would have to be completely partitioned. So in your example, that building would not be able to allow that mix of uses. It's a very stringent standard that we're applying here because we don't want situations where there's mixing between commercial and residential.
So you thought it through, right?
We have, and not only do we think it through.
What the architect said, like, listen, read your stuff and go, did anyone lose this?
Not only did we think it through, but this is already the zoning in many neighborhoods across the city, including Tribeca, and has been in place since that special.
I'm just saying, we thought it through, like, I used the casting studio as an example, where, as I said, well, I'm not even sure I want to hear a dental office screaming next to me, or just the idea that what's going on next to me while I'm trying to relax.
Exactly.
So you took it all into consideration. You're not giving any opportunity for, people interpreting into the wild, crazy land of like raising chickens next to, your agricultural plan.
Kind of the opposite, honestly. I think we've probably gone a little very, very strict to the point that in almost all existing buildings, this will be hard to do. The exception is an office building. We work in 120 Broadway, so I think that's a good example. There are 6 different elevator banks in this building, and it's landmarked, so it's old, and based on the elevator, I would say it's pretty empty. Now, Silverstein, which owns the property, they may want to convert it. There's a whole bunch of regulations, city and state, that prevent that full conversion. One of them is that stacking rule that says in no place can you have residential and then commercial above that residential. So we work on the 31st floor. If you want to take the elevator bank that serves floors 10 through 20 and convert that to res, there's no way to do it, even if it's completely empty, even if you can make it pencil out, even if a whole bunch of other ifs.
Oh, you are looking after the public, because if the city doesn't look after the public through these documents, then the building owner and developers, they just, they eat us for lunch. And we need you.
It's our.
Thank
There
you.
are, there are provisions in this text amendment to increase the availability of using home, I'm gonna say home office, because that's not even what I'm getting at, but running a professional business out of your home.
Yes.
Right?
There are.
To Vicky's point.
Yeah, to Vicky's point, but in no way would it allow for a casting
director.
studio.
Wait. I want to be very clear, okay?
That's not what you said last time, so my apologies.
I want to be very clear. I could be an individual casting person, and I could be allowed to have people coming all day long without a partition to my casting office.
You can do that today.
With.
It's a little harder today.
But
It's
But we can
actually not.
Well,
we can expand if, based on what you said before.
Let's, Mr. Evans, so what's the change in the zoning in terms of? the-
yes, thank you.
Yeah, so home-based businesses today, home occupations for those who want the actual terminology. You can have a number of different, including a casting studio, and the zoning allows you any kind of home-based business except for, and it lists a whole bunch of home-based businesses. So you cannot be a barber, you cannot be a beauty salon, you cannot be a stockbroker. Interestingly enough, even in Lower Manhattan, you cannot be a stockbroker from home. You cannot do public relations work, you cannot be an interior designer, and there's a few others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. So additional rules, you can't sell anything, so you can't do retail that you didn't produce on site. So you can make things from Etsy, but you can't sell them from someone else's Etsy shop. You also can't do anything that would create noise, odor, dust, particulate matter, any sort of what would be deemed an objectionable effect. Today, Department of Buildings, which regulates our zoning, can and would enforce on that action. If you're in a rental unit, you can be evicted for violating the terms of your lease or for violating the terms, even if your lease itself doesn't say you can't be a home business, you could be evicted because you have to be considered accessory. So the business has to be incidental, is the language in the zoning, to the dwelling unit. You have to live in the dwelling unit. So that's all in the zoning today. We're keeping all of that in place. So we think it makes sense. We've talked to DOB a lot about this proposal. They say it works. They say it's enforceable. The things we're changing. Today in our zoning, you are limited to either 25% of the dwelling unit or 500 square feet, whichever is less. We are proposing to make that to 49%. We think that's important for small units, particularly 1 bedrooms. In
Places with much bigger housing units, we're proposing to eliminate that 500 square foot cap, because in those places, the 500 square feet is the limit. The other thing we're doing, today, you're allowed one employee who doesn't live with you to work and re-register to your home occupation. In places including Tribeca, that is already 3. We are proposing to take that 3 employees and have it be in the places where it's not allowed. So it's the percentage, it's the business type's not allowed today, and it's the 3 employees. Those are the changes.
One of the common threads I think I heard in that litany of professions you listed off, which don't sound like they match, barber, stockbroker, et cetera, is they all seem to be professions that are highly regulated by the government. Is that a fair reason behind that listing?
I'm not sure, to be quite honest with you, the intent behind that particular listing. Some of them might make sense from a modern planner or land use perspective, some don't. Like why a stockbroker, for example.
And I know we talked about this, I think at the first go round, when we were talking about this specific piece of the proposal, but I just want to confirm that it hasn't changed. If a condo, co-op, or even a rental building through their rental rules prohibit those kinds of professional uses in their residential sections or building, that the zoning changes are not meant to override that and cannot override it, right?
Correct. They cannot override it. And I would also add, and this is new information I've learned since we spoke, even if you don't have that lease agreement, Department of Buildings still is required and does interpret the use to be incidental to the dwelling unit. And anything that is reasonably not incidental, as defined by a court, would also be cause for eviction.
With deed restriction even still apply. Okay, Richard, you've been patient.
Hi, Richard. Good to see you.
See you again. I'm not sure exactly how to get to this. So we've been talking about live work, residential, but there's also a capability in all of this, new capability for just work, just commercial, conversion to commercial in a residential unit. Is that a correct statement to start with? Can residential units be converted to commercial space? And if that's true,
Theoretically, yes, but I can explain the reasons why we think that's extremely limited.
let me just finish the question and then.
Yeah.
Because it's not really more of a question, now it's a statement. If that's the case, we clearly know that we're desperate for housing in the city. And isn't this contrary to that objective?
So we do not see it that way. And we don't see it that way for several reasons. The first is that, for the most part, the places where we see this is proposal, actually, whoever's controlling the screen, it's easier to have this conversation when we have all 18 up. I don't know if we can get to that slide.
When you do updated slides for us also, and you say allows, like the one for Governor's Island, where you said would allow and expand uses, I would love if you could tag to exactly which proposal for that it relates to and what those uses are, because that's gonna be a lot. If you would like us to respond by checklist, that, giving us that information will allow that fast transfer.
Okay. We can do that. We'll commit to that. Back to your question though, Richard.
Yeah.
So, trying to think of this way to talk about this. Buildings today, you have existing buildings that are typically walk up, or you have much larger buildings. And within most instances, we think that proposal number 5, which is the one you're referring to, where you might have today what is considered residential space, tomorrow might be non-residential space as a result of these zoning changes. We think it's extremely limited. It is theoretically possible, but we don't think it's likely to happen because in a walk-up building, you need separate entrances completely. And most existing walk-up buildings just physically cannot accommodate that and stop. You would not be able to convert. In a large building though, we don't think this is possible for part of the same reason that you would have to convert a large part of an existing residential building to non-residential use. Lower Manhattan has 22 million square feet of empty office space. We heard that from Downtown Alliance last month. I don't know of any developer who would say, I want to take some existing housing and turn that into office space.
Can you?
If there are use cases that you can point to where that's been happening, we want to see this, but we don't have any evidence that that is in fact the
But
case.
if that's the case, what's the purpose of this? I
The
mean,
purpose is the complete inverse of your question. Office buildings today that we want to partially convert to residential in the future. Or second floor doctor's offices today that we want to be able to convert to in the future. Those same rules are what are preventing that sort of partial conversion.
well, can you put that provision in
That you
could
can only
apply to commercial?
That you can only convert one way but not the other.
Yeah.
Theoretically possible. So I actually don't know the answer to that question and we can get back to you.
And just one place where we have been seeing that is along Broadway in Soho. If you look at the Uniqlo building, that Uniqlo has only been expanding their square footage into what used to be residential apartments. And there's a number of examples of that along that corridor. And so I think that's the threat, right? Especially these old manufacturing buildings that affect Tribeca or the Seaport, that those, storefronts on the ground floor might continue to expand upward and take over those residential uses.
We've seen
Thank
it
you for
happen in
highlighting.
South Street.
Yeah.
We've seen
So,
that.
yeah.
That's a
Seaport,
potential for
yeah.
us over by the seaport as well.
Yeah. So I mean, speaking as myself, not on behalf of the Department of City Planning, but we don't want to be losing housing units in a housing crisis. I think that's pretty clear to say. We have an entire proposal coming in the next few months focused on creating new housing and affordable housing in particular across our city. So I don't foresee us having places of conflict. That said, I want to take a look at that and Connor, if we can follow up with your office, get some specific addresses and look into it. This is exactly what will help us improve the proposal because we don't want to be leading the conflict. That's our goal. That's our intent. So thank you for raising it. I would love to follow up with you.
Yeah, I think just on that, like, I think the point that Richard was making, was, right, like trends currently show like a, sort of a lot of commercial vacancy for a number of reasons. Obviously, we just had COVID. But I think since, right, like this hasn't been changed for 60 years and, you don't know when it's gonna get changed next, like, we don't know what market drivers are gonna exist in the next 60 years, if there's gonna be incentives for residential to commercial conversion, other than, I know like right now it's very much the other way around, but like that's obviously just a moment in time. I think, like what if that's not the intention, then why allow it?
It's a great point.
Yeah.
So
I think that's also like a thread, like a theme throughout a lot of it.
Yeah.
If it's not intended, then why allow it?
And I kind of want to make time to exactly what you're saying is when we're looking at the next ULURP that's coming our way at 20, or maybe it's not a ULURP, at 25 Water, right? So that's a well-known building on Water Street that had a beautiful arcade and outdoor area.
Did you read that? Yeah, like, hello, Alex, yes.
That is becoming residential. But when they come forward for us, we need to now take a look at what this is, because even though they say they're converting the whole building, and yes, it's all luxury, there's not one affordable housing unit going anywhere in there, and they're able to enclose the arcade. So when you're looking at the Water Street text amendment, I'm like sick to my stomach because it's not about activating it for the community. They've already gotten their give back and they're getting more back. So now I'm looking at what they're doing with the building in light of what you're telling me, they'll be able to then take, because of the way everything else are structured, they could convert to modern condos now, keep a section that's rental, and then turn that back into commercial at will, because they have all the separate elevator banks. So they could actually turn that building by section into different levels of whatever housing they want. Let's say they decided they need the money, the top's gonna be, the most expensive condos. And then they have different elevator banks like all the other office buildings, so they can turn partials into rentals here and partials into a different kind of rentals there, and then convert that back to commercial when the market comes back and just flip back and forth. And the only thing that the public has gained from that, because there's no affordable housing and we've lost the arcades and the public benefits. So I'm kind of taking a look saying, all right, here's my new test case that you're now putting in front of us that Connor's saying, again, when the market turns, what's to say?
Right, so as a tool to convert to residential, you like it, but as a tool to convert potentially residential back to commercial, no go. And that makes sense. I understand what you're saying there.
George had his hand up on, as well, and Vicky, I saw your hands up, maybe George will ask a question or get it answered for
Yeah,
you.
great. Thank you. So I guess,
Hey, George, good to see you. Or
yeah, I have a little echo. So, all right. So I guess one of my comments is relates to your assertion that, well, there's been a laboratory going on in Lower Manhattan, and that, we already have a lot of the home occupation rules in effect here, and we already have some of the building stacking rules in effect here in converted dwellings. And I guess, I hear that. And then I also hear Tammy talk about the affordable housing crisis in the area. I hear other people talk about how the fact that they can't get a slice of pizza or go to the supermarket or have an affordable supermarket. And I guess what I'm saying is that, what I'm hearing is that, there's a lot of problems in just daily life in Lower Manhattan, it seems. And I'm not sure I would tout some of the laboratory that you're touting as a success. I think, the issue of home occupations that, you could have 3 outside employees, 49% of your unit may be encouraging the combination of residential units so that people could have bigger units so that they could devote more of their space for their business, and so they no longer have to rent places, and so you end up with these very large units in Tribeca that people have and they work out of. And I'm not sure that that's a model that we want to replicate anywhere else. I don't know why that would be considered a success. I mean, if you were renting a small office somewhere with a few employees, why wouldn't you buy the unit next door to you and combine them into a single unit and then be able to use half of it or 49% of it for your home occupation?
Hey, George.
Yep.
If it were just Tribeca, I would agree with you, but these rules are in place in every mixed use MX or light industrial plus residential district we have in the city, which has been in place since the 90s. It occurs in communities across Brooklyn and Queens and the Bronx, as well as other parts of Manhattan. So it's not just Tribeca where these rules are in effect. I think there's something unique to the building typology of that in the history of Tribeca that is lending itself to those large lots. I mean, I am a bit of a student of history, and I think you are as well, so you know that. But I just wanted to push back on that, George. But I appreciate your assertion.
Yeah, but if you're going to have yes, in the MX districts, you have these special districts that are set up to have a big mix of uses that go into it. It is very non-Euclidean in its form. They're fundamentally different than a multiple dwelling in an R district, right? They're just different contexts, and I just don't think you're going to. I think the home occupation thing I think has a lot of consequences for housing as people start considering housing for their business. And that's essentially what this does. It opens the door for people to consider housing as their business. And I think there are other elements to this that are really worrying when it comes to housing. And you see it more, I think, in Lower Manhattan than elsewhere. It's the idea that, in a mixed building, you either have 1 story of commercial or 1 or 2 stories of commercial, and that's it. And so now what we're doing with this change is allowing more and more commercial in the mixed building. And by definition, that displaces housing. Because I guess it could be community facility, but it's likely going to be competition between housing and commercial uses. And why do we want to do that? Why? I mean, if you believe that there's actually a housing crisis, if you believe that, why do you want to make housing compete with commercial uses? It's puzzling to me that it's even a proposal that's on the table.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
a question?
I appreciate your comments and, noted.
Is there, to George's point, I thought about a lot about this, George, I really appreciate you bringing it up, but I just wanted to ask, what is the limitation on, I apologize, I haven't read everything, but the scale of what that could, how many of these units can you buy? That's 49% of,
There's no
So you're talking about home occupation?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay. So no square footage maximum that we're proposing. Today in zoning, there's a 500 square foot cap.
So I guess the question is like, why not just like maybe expand the cap?
So expand the cap from 500.
Like you
to-
could have a
to-
percentage, but also like, as long as it's not like 3,000 square feet or whatever.
Well, but you're saying the cap is 500 square feet, I'm not understanding.
Yeah, so today, 25%
I
or
understand.
500, whatever is
Right,
smaller.
but going forward.
Going forward, we're proposing 49 or no cap.
Oh.
And because in places that have smaller units, it's the 25% that ends up being the limit a lot of times. But in places, say Queens, Staten Island, where you have rooms that are sometimes
But to
bigger
your,
than
to
500.
George's point, is 49% of 10,000 square feet? Somebody
Yes.
buys 3 lots at
So
49%.
long
Yes,
as,
that's the
so
problem, and we're
long
seeing that.
as
Okay, well.
it is an incidental use to the dwelling unit. And that is in the zoning today.
But
So what incidental means in the eyes of the Department of Buildings, in the eyes of housing courts, is not going to be 6,000 square feet of a 10,000 square foot unit.
But it,
in all likelihood.
but it could.
It would be 4,999 feet in a 10,000 square foot unit. That's what it would
I
be.
guess that's where I'll say, because I hear you all on this, and we proposed one thing. We are going through a process to modify, to change, to improve these proposals. We're open to changes on this. I don't want to misconstrue me to say that I'm not open.
That is a great place to break tonight. It's 9:20 PM. We've been
Okay.
going for over 3 hours. I'm gonna ask Zach to circulate that link once again. It's a Google form. Please, LZ members, fill it out if you have a question. We're gonna have one more opportunity to meet and discuss. I anticipate at our January meeting, we'll be sitting with George as well to really go over nuts and bolts, and we have to put together our resolution in January. So now's the time. Now's the time to get your question.
What date for January, just so I have it?
No, get back to give me one second.
And I would ask that even this slide deck that you sent us tonight, where you made the notations of things that would be potential expanded groups in Governor's Island, what we need is, what is that group? What proposal is it linked to? Because if you're asking the community board to say yes or no by 18 different proposals, then everything that we see here can't be as general as, here's our goal and our concepts. It has to come back very specifically to, this is zoning 5, this is zone proposal 5, zone proposal 4. Because, and if proposal 10, for example, relates to, has an overlap on proposal 4, that needs to be a lot clearer as well. Please.
Thank you.
All right, January 8th.
January 8th.
It's the second Monday in January. That looks like the date, because then the following Monday is Luther King.
Oh, sorry.
One question before we close, what is the status on the extension to review these text amendments?
We got it.
We got it.
It's, we only have until the end of January,
End of January.
because unless you're gonna push back again.
So if you told me the full board needed the first week in February to vote on this, then that's okay, because we're having to do that elsewhere to accommodate the monthly cycle, but,
we will have that in January.
We're a 1 to 30, so we,
Okay.
you know, we're in.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
In the meantime, please send us questions.
We will.
Please send us questions. Questions.
Hugely helpful.
I think,
I can't be everywhere every night. I was here tonight, but I'm in
But I
different places
think-
tomorrow night.
That's a really, really good point. Yeah. We beat up our city, agency representatives when they come to see it. These guys have hung out for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Many other.
We're difficult, but we do. Why not?
That's been great.
I mean,
So we can. We're adjourned.
Jerry.
We're adjourned.